everyone! Thank you so much for joining us today at the Chromatic Chimera for our Pride fundraising event. I am Sam. I will be today's facilitator. We are raising funds today for both the Trevor Project and the Bale Project. We have Tiltifies running for both. We will also be donating all revenue from subs, bits, cheers, and any merch purchases today to the Trevor Project. So please check that out. We do have some commands with handy, convenient Tiltify links so you can donate directly if that is easier or preferred for you. We do want to thank everybody for coming to join us today and for the support. It's really important to try to do what we can to help out. And we're really, really happy to have you all here with us. We're going to be playing a game of Dialect, which is a game about language and how it dies. It is by the company Thorny Games, and we've played it once before here on the Chromatic Chimera in Unprepared with Meg and Lynn for the win, and I've been excited to play it again ever since then, and I just really want to thank my players for joining me today to do that. Speaking of my players, let's just go around real quick and introduce ourselves. Abby, why don't we start with you, and then we'll go clockwise.
Hi, I'm Abby. I live here. I am the creative director for the Chromatic Chimera. I'm also, you'll probably remember me from our Wednesday games, and I'm also a dice maker.
Hey, I am Reliable. I am a Black Queer streamer. You can typically find me on either Dice Priori or guesting on several other channels or on my own channel. Also at _reliable1 on Twitter. So yeah, super excited for this today.
Hi, my name is Leona. You can find me on Twitter at the Leona Maple, and I'm just really excited to play this today. That's all I got.
Hi, I'm Izza. You can find me at Evil Clever Dog on Twitter and Instagram. I'm a cosplayer, and I've been streaming a bunch of tabletop RPGs and D&D and games and stuff since this lockdown started. You can actually find me on Chromatic Chimera again on Mondays because I'll be rejoining the Wild Mount During and Divine campaign. Yay! And on Tuesdays on twitch.tv/Finn the Bin, I am now streaming Pokemon Black and White with my friend Finn. So yeah, join us for that. And I'm very excited to play this game.
Well, I'm so happy to have all of you here. I am Sam. I go by they, them pronouns. You can find me on Twitter at @TheSamWisest. And this is my second time playing Dialect, so please bear with me as I try to facilitate for my first time. We have decided in advance what, actually, I guess real quick, I will just sort of explain that the way this game is played is we are going to be forming a group called an isolation, getting a little real and heavy here real quick. We have decided to go with a setting that the book provides. They call it a backdrop for the game called the Outpost, in which we are playing people who have been on the first station of Mars, pretty much. As we play, we're going to develop characters based on cards that we are drawing we're going to be using a Roll20 module, which is really awesome. Again, first time facilitating, so bear with me while I try to get the tech side of things also. But we're going to be drawing cards that will help us shape the way our isolation's language and culture grows and changes over time. And I'm really excited to see the stories that we're going to tell together. So just to start off, I'm going to introduce us to the backdrop exactly that we chose to sort of set the mood here. In the Outpost, 2,000 brave souls, we departed Earth in the year 2045 as part of the first Martian expeditionary, oh my god, outpost. This bodes well for a game about language. When we first left, we were told there would be more to follow, but in reality, there never were. Over the 5 years that we've been on Mars, communications have broken down, and it has been years since we've heard from Earth. Like it or not, the Red Planet is now home. We will show these barren, hostile wastes what we're truly made of and what it means to do more than survive. So this is where we begin in Age 1. We are going to generate aspects for this isolation, this society that has settled on Mars, been there for 5 years now at the start of Age 1. The aspects are things that really drive the focus of the language and culture that we are shaping here. So we're going to want to keep these in mind and sort of refer back to them really as much as we can to help tie things in together. The way we do this first is we're going to have a conversation all together in which we answer some of these generation questions. And there's 2 that are provided and then a free one that we get to sort of make up our own based on what we have. So our first aspect question is called We Are Chosen. What brought us all together for the mission? So we know that we have, this mission to be this first outpost on Mars for 5 years. Why did that happen? How did this come to be? What brought us all together for this, for being chosen to be this group? And I will open the floor for any conversation or ideas.
I actually, earlier today when I was running errands, I was thinking about this, and I kind of had this idea that we were like agricultural scientists on Mars trying to figure out how to grow plants there.
Ooh.
If that makes any sense.
I dig it.
Yeah.
So you mean kind of like we were the group that was sent to begin like cultivating Mars or terraforming it maybe?
Yeah.
I like that. Does anyone have anything to, add or shift maybe? Because, this is a growing unit that we are building.
Yes, I am very open to other ideas.
Okay, if we like the idea of like that, what we want to do is sort of boil down this aspect to a phrase or a saying that we can sort of harken back to, like a motto almost. It can be as simple or sort of as poetic as we want it to be.
I guess could it derive from the year in which we left? Did you say it was 2025?
Yeah.
Could that be a part of it?
That definitely could be. If we can think of like a way to sort of tie that into the idea of we were all chosen because of this tie to, botany or something. Otherwise, I'd say if we wanted to tie something specifically to the time frame or the year, that might be good for our free aspect.
Okay.
Like, I'm thinking maybe like, maybe our aspect is something like, could be something like, a seed well nurtured can grow in any environment or something like that. Ooh. As just like, cool. Something that we can like latch onto as the framework for our community. That's kind of wordy. I don't know, maybe we could trim it or shape it.
Yeah.
A seed can grow in any environment?
Yeah, something like that maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Right, because if we've all got that sort of tie to the earth and plants somehow, I kind of like the idea that like maybe we also mirror that somehow.
Yeah. I think you mentioned the word nurture as well. Like that's quite a good word as well. Especially if this is relating to not only like potentially farming, but also potentially terraforming, like bringing life to a planet.
Like taking care of Mars the way we didn't take care of the Earth.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that could tie into it too. Maybe we were all particularly outspoken, like this is what, needs to be done, and that's why we were chosen.
Mm.
Hmm.
So is this, sorry if I've misunderstood, but what we're looking for now isn't just one word, is it more of a phrase?
It could be one word, it could be a phrase.
Like our mission statement?
Kind of, yeah. That's pretty much what the aspects are.
Okay.
These are things that are fundamental to the framework of the way we see ourselves or our mission. And as we play through and we create our characters and we create words for, our own language that we kind of develop, we'll be wanting to sort of lean back on this. So, just for example, maybe in the future we'll need to make up a word for hello. I'm saying this because this came from the last game I played. So, maybe we try to tie that back somehow to like our greeting is derived from the reason we were chosen, and things like that. We can tie these themes all together, and as we keep going, they become more and more entrenched or maybe forgotten and left by the wayside, as many intents are when, groups first start out to do things. So it's something that's meant for us to be able to sort of like grab onto and keep referring back to thematically, and interpersonally, things like that.
Okay.
So I like the idea of the nurture and the seed, or something to do with we were chosen because we have that view of wanting to do better.
Yeah.
Even nurture the seed sounds good.
Yeah.
Like just like
Oh yeah, just trim it. I like that.
I like that.
Nurture the seed or nurture the seeds, but nurture the seed sounds very like. Yeah.
Nurture the seeds. This was probably going to come up a lot, but totally not a cult in any way. Nurture the seeds.
I'm here for the cult stuff.
I like that. Nurture the seed for why we were chosen as our aspects.
Yeah. I like that.
Nurture the seed.
And we can even think of Mars itself as the seed.
Ooh, see? And this would actually bring us to our next aspect, which is titled The Red Planet. What about the planet defines our daily life? So this would be something that would definitely end up being important as we develop our language and stuff, something that's fundamentally necessary to our survival here, maybe, whether it's interpersonally or environmentally.
Probably something environmentally with Mars is finding water. Maybe that's like a daily thing that we have to like, there's a daily like process that we have to go through to get water to our spaces, not just for like plants, but also for ourselves.
I like that. So something to do with water specifically?
Possibly, yeah.
I could be into that. What about this planet defines daily life? So
I guess it's also, water's a really good one, and Mars being the red planet, like the color of the surface and that like rocky surface could also like combine in with that, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking of the terrain as well, right? And like how it's difficult and different.
Yeah, so a focus definitely on sort of, I guess, the grittiness of our need to worry about survival. So I like the idea of tying in water and the terrain somehow, especially because we've got that like plant nurtury thing.
Yeah.
Any suggestions?
Look, my idea didn't start out as Mars hippies, but I'm here for it.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Me too.
Oh shit.
I'm so here for it.
I'm also here for that. Mars hippies,
I was
let's
like,
go.
Yeah, no, I was in Jewel and I'm like, oh man, Mars scientists would be cool, and here we are. I love it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay.
This is amazing.
Let's see. So, focus on survival. Like, what's a good way to sort of frame that as a pillar or an aspect we can refer back to easily?
Always return to the water.
Ooh.
I don't know where I'm coming up with this stuff.
No, but that's what we're here for. That poetic brain blast. Like, oh, I love it.
I like that.
Always
Thank
return
you.
to the water.
Yeah, is everyone cool with that?
I love that,
I really like that. Yeah.
Right? Because it's like you're on this rocky terrain and like you have to return back to where the water is because that's life.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. Okay, so I'm putting these into our roll 20 in the aspect table. Let me see, example aspect. Always return to the water, is that how we want to call it?
Yeah.
Always return to the water. Okay, this is really poetic and I dig it. So we have nurture the seed, always return to the water. This is like some E. Cummings shit now. Okay.
Definitely not a cult.
Definitely not a cult. All right, and now we have a free aspect. The choice is ours to pick this sort of third foundational aspect of our society. Isa, I know you had mentioned maybe something about the year earlier, or the passage of time.
Yeah, doesn't necessarily have to be that. It was just sort of the first thing that came to my head.
I just wanted to make sure that we picked it back up and it didn't get, lost by the wayside.
Yeah.
So if anyone has a
I
thought.
just feel like if you had left somewhere in such a like extreme manner, you would probably always remember the time in which you left and the reason why.
I like it. It could be, I don't know. It could be something about the memory of Earth that we've left behind, perhaps. Either wanting to forget it or wanting to hold on to something. Any thoughts?
I'm muted. Would this maybe be like a national holiday for Mars?
Ooh, it could be. That's
like...
actually a potential for something that we could develop throughout the ages.
Okay.
But I mean, we can still just also decide that that's a thing of ourselves and add it in because I'm okay with that.
So even if it's not like a national holiday, like one of those days that everyone remembers for a very significant reason.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a formal thing.
Like maybe if it's either the day we initially left Earth or the day we first arrived on Mars, it's sort of a day where you, because our purpose here is nurturing life, it's like a day in which you celebrate life. And maybe there's like feasting or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to get too down that route just in case we do just like get a card for that we want to formally develop. Plus this is sort of more like, again, like a theoretical, I mean, not necessarily theoretical, but you know, sort of more open concept, I think. But I really like the idea of like Mars Day or Planting Day or something like that. Like that's the kind of thing that we'd be pulling the cards from once we create our characters and we begin the first age. We might get cards for things like a holiday or a special ritual of greeting or, you know, a term for being angry at somebody. And you get to like pick and sort of define these things. And then we'll be role-playing scenes in which we use these terms or maybe even pointedly don't, you know, use them and like dance around it in a certain way. And that's when like the shit gets real. So, but I don't know, for this third aspect, we like the idea, I think, though, of tying it to, you know, the significance of maybe arriving at Mars or leaving Earth behind. Because if we want to sort of focus on like that founding day, maybe our aspect is, you know, very geared on some sort of, I don't know, reverence for how things began.
Ooh, remember the roots.
I don't know where this is going.
That's so good.
Oh my goodness. Yep. My not a cult is getting a lot weaker.
We're the Mars cult. I love it.
Yeah.
Mars cult.
Wearing hoods, chanting, remember
Remember the roots.
Remember the roots. Return to the water. Holy shit. Okay, anyway.
Your reactions are priceless, y'all. That was so funny.
So are we down for what was it? Return to the roots?
Or remember the roots.
Remember the roots.
I love that.
We're just like a poison ivy cult or something now. Like, holy, just a bunch of botanists who are like, nope, doing this ourselves.
Just a plant cult. Just like growing.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see. So now that we have our aspects, we have our community questions to sort of help guide some of the way that our life works within this isolation. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5, which means pretty much we each get to choose a question to answer it. And you know, you can determine it. You can also open the floor for suggestions if you'd like to. Let's start. I don't know if somebody has an idea and you want to go first. Like, let me see. Actually, can I pull up the community questions on here so you can all see them? They are in the PDF that I sent you. It is on page 70 for the core backdrop, which I might have also made a shortcut for in our chat.
You did.
Sweet.
It's
so everybody
the compound.
No, the Outpost is the one we're doing.
Oh, oops. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
No worries. It's the one right before, though, in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Outpost, everybody gets to pick one question. If somebody sees one that speaks to them, please feel free to speak up now. I've been talking a lot, so I want somebody else to go first.
um, for the structures one, what type of structures do we live in other places for communal gatherings? Like, I'm sort of imagining a complex of sort of greenhouse-esque buildings that are like, sealed so that it's like its own environment inside, and like within these environments that are sealed to the harshness of the surface, it's just like full of greenery, but all closed off behind, glass or the equivalent of glass that would work to keep you safe and safe.
Biodome.
But also like all these like interconnecting tunnels and walkways between them and everything, like spanning across huge distances.
I love that so much.
I think that's really cool. Like an interconnected biodome village.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe there's like, one large location that is like mainly used for one thing, say like farming a particular type of crop, and then there's another location a certain like distance away, and there's sort of like tunnels connecting them, but they're all constructed from the same like biodome thing.
I like it. I think that's really cool. So we've got like a tunnel biodome thing. I like it. I like it. Someone have another question you wanna, or something you want to add to even like grow it? This is the person who chooses the question will get sort of the final say on any sort of debate or uncertainty about things. But if anybody ever has something to pitch in or add, please do.
So, question to like flesh it out a little bit. Do the how are they structured? Like, what is a house? Like, how is that biodome structured for like a single family versus how other areas that are biodomes are structured, and how like they connect through tunnels, but are those tunnels above ground, underground?
I think it's all sort of like the bits that people typically like would walk or take transport through are on the surface, but there might be tunnels for things like pumping water and stuff like that. And I was sort of imagining that rather than like a biodome being a single house, it's almost like a small sort of village or town, like contained within a single biodome, and then sort of individual like lodgings and stuff within that. So it's almost like individual biodomes can become like little communities in and of themselves, but they have like this is a biodome where we grow like this crop, and like this is a biodome where we like store all the water and pump it to the ones where they grow crops and stuff like that.
Oh, I like that. So there's like multiple communities within.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much picturing a giant like hamster cage on Mars, but
yeah, like
where you've got all those
tunnels.
different spaces, dedicated for different things that get connected and through different tunnels.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so we've got biodomes with tunnels, and there's travel, like sort of common use tunnels on the surface, but then maybe like utility tunnels that are beneath ground for things like water transport and I don't know, waste extraction and I guess maintenance, probably, right? Maybe that's sort of where like a lot of the important equipment. Oh my goodness. Well, I've got a thunderstorm going here. Hopefully my power will stay on because that was very loud. Like I heard that through my headphones. So yeah, so maybe it's something like the mechanics, like the life support systems are in those underground tunnels for like added protection, maybe. Okay, cool. All right, who else has a question if we're ready to move on?
I do. So how do we produce basic necessities of life? I'm going to say, since we're an agricultural group, like a botany group that's on Mars, we grow most of our own, we grow everything for ourselves. And because Mars is so different than what we'd be used to on Earth, we have to figure out new ways to keep recycling to
Ooh.
to have those necessities. And I would also imagine that the diet does not really consist of meat because it takes a lot of resources to feed animals for meat,
Mhm.
and those could be used better by just eating them ourselves.
Yeah.
I like that. You know, plus that makes sense because maybe even if we came here with some sort of livestock, like we came here with the understanding more people were coming and they haven't. So, you know, maybe we even came here with the intent to have that and it faded out over time. And now I like the idea of like vegetarian Mars cult, guys.
Vegetarian Mars cult.
Vegetarian Mars cult. I like that. Cool. Anybody have, you know, suggestions to add in, or we can move on to the next question before my power goes out? Jeez.
Whew, that I could hear that.
Yeah, me
it
too.
is- It is intense. Whew. It's Mars Storm.
Are you thinking then that we have like no livestock whatsoever, or the idea is that we do have some livestock, say like chickens to produce eggs, but we
Ooh.
don't kill them for meat, like they're only used for other byproducts, basically?
Oh, that's a good question. Like,
Ooh.
would we value like getting animal products enough to put the resources towards that
Right.
when we have limited resources? That's an interesting question. I don't know. What do you all think?
I don't know. I mean, frankly, I don't know enough of the science to really know. Like, we don't care about science here. So I do kind of like the idea, though, that if we did have some livestock that was used primarily for care, not to mention companionship, like we're a bunch of people stranded somewhere. So maybe like we got too emotionally attached to our chickens or something.
Yes.
And it gives us more stuff to recycle too, you know. Then we get like feathers for, you know, bedding or things
Oh,
like
true.
that.
Yeah.
You know, manure for fertilizer for everything.
This is my emotional support chicken.
Yeah. Oh my
It
god.
probably makes more sense like in an agricultural society to have a chicken as a pet than it would be to have like a cat or a dog.
It's true.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
if you don't have to worry about, you know, like wolves coming in or foxes and other predators because you didn't bring them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So we do have some animals then, but they're not used for consumption, but for, you know, more sort of utility and just use like that, you know. I don't know like the proper words. I don't want to say like recycling because that doesn't seem quite right.
They're used as a resource.
Yes, they are still used as a resource, but not for consumption. There we go. I like that. Animals not for consumption. Animals for comfort, not consumption.
Yes.
Animals are friends, not food.
Yes.
Not a cult. The cultery just deepens. All right, so that's 2 questions down. Who's got one?
So possibly for whom is life the hardest? I was thinking probably because we have like these resources in our like little area, but we still like are trying to figure out if there are more resources on Mars, if there are more like things that we can pull from. So probably the people that like actually have to go out and do those things because they're going to have limited resources going out, not knowing what they're going to be encountering, and also like going back to companionship, like having to do that like with such a small group versus like the 2,000 of us that came here. So
Oh, that's really good.
Really like that.
I really like
Yeah.
that.
That's really cool.
So then it's kind of like life is the hardest for the people who need to be scavenging for other things. They tend to be
Yeah.
more solitary.
And maybe they are also the people who go and scope out like new locations where we should extend our biodome to, like somewhere
Yeah.
that's advantageous for some environmental reason for
Yeah.
terraforming to grow crops or to store something or to use as like housing.
I like that. So like scavengers and scouts. I like that a lot. Cool. Thanks, Reliable. That's a good one. Because
Mm.
now I've just got this cool image of somebody in like some decked out future space scavenger, Fallout style suit going off into like a red waste.
Mad Max
have a
astronaut.
question, right? I do have a question to flesh that out though.
Yeah.
How does the rest of the community view those people?
Ooh.
Is it purely hard because of the conditions they're put in, or is it also hard because of how they're viewed? Or is it like made a little bit better because they're viewed in a positive way?
Ooh.
Maybe they're seen as heroes. Like these are the people that are braving the frontier basically to like, find places for expansion. So maybe they're kind of heroic in that sense.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like in that
Yeah.
situation, they would have been the people who, when we initially landed, were the ones who went out and took the risk first in order for us to build the first biodome and plant the first crops. So it's sort of like they're the reason we're able to do any of this, really.
And so if they're viewed as heroes, do they choose to do this of their own volition, or are they
Ooh.
pressured or elected to do it?
I feel like I don't know.
I feel like it's one of those things where you can volunteer, but they always have to like try to strongly encourage other people to do it, because there's not enough people that will like willingly go out by themselves.
And maybe you have to go
Because,
through
like-
some kind of training in order to do it, because it's like physically taxing to go out and do this and like be out in that environment.
So kind of like you can join the military, military, but you can also get drafted in.
Somewhat, yeah.
Maybe.
Is that kind of what we're saying?
Or
Like,
maybe
you
it's
can
sort of like
choose.
a subtle coercion almost.
Okay.
Kind of like, oh yeah, you can volunteer, but you really should, or like no one's
Okay.
gonna choose you for other missions or something like that. I don't know. What do you think, Reliable? This
I
was your
think that
question, right?
It's pretty well. Yeah, it's probably going to be pretty hard for people to like willingly want to go out there, so that makes sense.
Like we're all nerdy scientists, so we want to stay inside with our chickens and plants.
For
I got this
nerdy
job to be in a
vegetarian
lab.
hippie scientists.
Oh my god. Definitely not in a cult though. All right, so I'm just sort of like putting drafted in quotation marks as like a note for myself.
Yeah.
I'll try
That
and
was
get
probably
some of these.
a bad
things typed
analogy.
up.
I'm sorry.
So let's see. I if you go into the Roll20 in that like whole play space, next to the zooming area, there's a page toolbar you can click. It's like a little blue page, and that
Definitely
should give you.
don't have it.
No, it should be
No.
showing for you.
Nope.
Let me see. Do I need to change a setting then? It might just be a setting change, but I don't know how to do that. Let's see. Okay. I mean, I can definitely copy everything back over into the chat so y'all can refer to the aspects and stuff. So just to help then to reiterate, our 3 aspects for our isolation right now are nurture the seed, always return to the water, and remember the roots. Not a cult. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Is there like a space for the quest? I want you to be able to see it because it's also pretty and useful. Can nobody see the play area? My players are you not able to access it?
I just see sort of like the almost
title
banner thing
page?
that says a game about language and how it dies, with like the vines or
Oh,
something.
wait, here
around
we
it.
go. I think I figured it out.
Oh,
Now
There
can
it
you
is.
see it? I did it.
Yes.
I see the 3 ages.
Yes, that
yeah.
is it. So if you look at the cards, I've started filling them out. Like I can move the aspects for age 1 at least all to be sort of closer together.
wow.
Here, let me shift stuff.
Oh,
Right,
this
this
is so
module is really
cool.
cool.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. So I'm like trying to reconfigure things so I can see your lovely faces at the same time. So I'm just gonna pop these all like next to each other. These are our aspects along the left. Nurture the seeds, always return to the water, and remember the roots. There we go. And then these are things for later. Okay. All right, so hopefully, oh my goodness, this
Oh
storm
my-
is sweet.
Uh-oh.
It is
It
intense.
is a loud storm.
Yeah, I like it. I would like it more for what didn't make me nervous that my power would go out again. Okay, let's see. So, Reliable, if you're feeling good about the scavenger question,
Yeah.
I think we can move on. Who hasn't answered one yet? Leona, you still have to go, yeah?
Yeah, I keep getting drawn back to like how did communications break down and which of our aspects played a role in this.
Yes.
And I feel like I feel like something went wrong on Earth. Something terrible happened that caused like a communications failure, like the technology failed or something like that.
Ooh.
And Earth is scrambling to try and fix it, but it's just not happening. For whatever reason, you know, whatever environmental disaster has happened on Earth or technological disaster, whatever it may be. So it's just not happening. And I think remember the roots almost becomes like a what's the word? Like something that is said to almost commemorate or like remember. Like it's a
Ooh.
moment of remembrance, like remember the roots because they are, you know, we don't know if they're still there. Like we don't know what's happened to them, so we have to remember them and keep their memory alive.
What if instead of our remembrance of the day we arrived on Mars, we were remembering that day that communication broke down?
Ooh.
Oh, I got
Dark.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like
Me
it's
too.
one of those very solemn remembrance days where like we don't know if anyone's still okay on Earth.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like, as far as we can tell, like we just know something has gone wrong and we don't even know what happened on Earth.
It could be the Walking Dead down there. We have no clue.
All right, so just some kind of disaster on Earth is what ended communication.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
like
don't know if
that.
you want us to go more into like obviously if we don't know what happened on Earth, but like I'm thinking if we're here growing food and terraforming this planet, like it was meant to be that a vast population was supposed to leave Earth and join us, but
Mm-hmm.
the disaster that was impending on Earth happened before they could leave and join us. So like we're the only ones who made it out.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we 5 years later, you know, we know that there's no communication. Maybe it's kind of something where like some of us are still trying to like, or wanting, actually, that might actually lead into the next question I have. Because we've got one question left, which is what internal threat looms over us? So maybe that internal threat is just sort of the way that aspect of remember the roots can divide people, you know, like maybe some people are like, we need to just move on and create our own life here, and some people are like, no, but they might be trying, like, we need to still prepare in case people come. And that could be
There's
the
like a
internal
division
threat.
now. Yeah.
Love that.
And then it still ties into the communication breakdown, which is going to be stuck in my head.
So it's like people are either hopeful that more people from Earth are still coming, or they've given up hope on it.
Yeah, and like the schism between those two
Okay.
beliefs is that internal threat.
Okay.
You know, like what
I
once
like
used to
that.
be a cohesive
Yeah.
mission of terraforming Earth is now like, we need to look out for us. We need to look out for the future, you know, colonists coming to, you know, maybe one day. Who knows?
There's like the believers and the futurists.
Yeah. I like that a lot. So then
And like
the
the
internal
believers
threat.
are still trying to contact Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the futurists are like, we just have to like keep going on as ourselves kind of thing.
The Earthlings and the Martians.
And I mean, this will tie in really well too, because as we go through these ages, there's actually a pathway that will sort of read to give us a prompt for a new setting, like situation kind of within that age. And there is one pathway we'll be able to take that can actually sort of help guide us that way, or it could be one that it seems pretty intense, honestly, so we can decide which one we want to go with when the time comes.
Yeah.
Let's see. So those, I think, are the end of the internal, or I mean, of the community questions. We have then the kind of structures that we live in are these biodomes, teeming with a lot of plant life, connected by both surface and undersurface tunnels. We decided that sort of travel and more common day-to-day business happens over the surface. Things like utilities, water, and machine maintenance is all underneath. For production, we have an agricultural focus with a dedication towards recycling, a vegetarian based diet, and any animals we have are not for consumption. Life is the hardest for the scavengers and scouts who are seen as heroes. They are able to, they're supposed to be volunteers for the job, but there's never enough volunteers available. It's you need some harsh training for it. And people might be like sort of guilted or encouraged very heavily by people in the community to maybe serve as a scout if they've got good skills or something for it. Our communication breakdown, we don't know the true nature of it. All we know is that something happened on Earth and it wasn't on our end. We don't know if they're still trying to fix it or if there's even anybody left down there, which leads to our internal threat, which is, do we give up or do we keep trying to prepare for the future of the colony as it was supposed to be? This is one hell of a hippie space cult, y'all.
Love it.
Like, this is all stuff that we just generated from these really basic questions, like bouncing ideas off of each other, and I am in love with this whole thing, honestly. Oh, sorry, I just hit my mic. Okay. So the next thing that we get to do is we name our isolation. What has our community decided to call itself now?
Ooh. I kind of like the word the sprawl, as in like this sprawl of like nature and biodomes over the
Ooh.
surface of Mars.
I like that a lot. Like, we are the sprawl or
Yeah.
sprawlers, like in conversation, depending on the use.
Ooh, like, yeah, like we're sprawlers. I like that.
I like that. Let's see. I know I've got a space for that somewhere on our handy dandy thingy.
Or it could even be like the green sprawl or something, like with some other word like attached to it, that's more evocative of nature. But
Ooh.
but yeah, sprawl.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So yeah, we're going to be the sprawl. Let me see how I know I can add a thing here. That's not what I meant to do. Sorry again, I'm bad at this. Whatever, I'll add that later. So the sprawl or sprawlers is like what we call our community or the people within it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like that a lot. How does that sound, everyone?
I love it so much.
Okay. So next up is we get to create our characters. I've got to deal these. Deal 3 cards to all players. I think I did that right. You should all be able to see a deck of like little cards that's appeared over your icon on Roll20.
Mhm.
These are your character archetypes. Everybody is going to pick one of their archetype cards. In doing so, once you decide what archetype you want to settle on, we're each going to share the archetype card and tie it into an aspect accordingly. So, if you sort of click around and look at them, you might be able, you'll see what I mean. Abby, I don't know if people will be able to see yours on the Roll20 or not for the audience.
They can.
Nice. I remember that from when I was doing it. I was like, they're going to get spoiled on all your choices, but that's okay.
Oh, wait, no, they can't because I'm on 2 different computers.
Oh, nice. Okay. So we'll do like a sort of full introduction after we each pick the archetype. Like, we'll go around, we'll say what the archetype is, which is the big red word on the top of your card. And then you can read the little description for it that's in black text. And then where it says how you relate to aspects and stuff is something that will tie in as well. but then we'll go through full introductions where we create our character names and our relationships and stuff in more detail.
Oh, I've got two that could be very spicy.
Ooh, we're
There's
here
some
for the spicy,
spicy
content.
Yeah, there's some spicy ones for sure.
I've got a really good. How do I like? Do I get to select it? Like, what do I do?
Yeah, you can play it somehow. I think you might be able to just drag it actually, if memory
Oh, okay.
serves.
Ooh.
Nice, nice. You know what? I'm gonna go with this one because we have a whole thing for it. All right, so just then for starters, I'll read mine, just because as the facilitator, it helps set it. So I'm going to go with the Scrounger archetype, since I think that's a cool way to sort of tie it into the setting, with Reliable's whole Scrounger scout deal. So mine means something's in short supply here. We rely on you to provide whatever scraps of it we can get. People talk to you about getting what they need. So that's my archetype, and I'll stop there, and everybody just, read your archetype and the text in black, and then when we do the introduction, we'll tie in the aspects and our relationships together and things like that. So whoever wants to go next, feel free, or I'll pick you.
I'm
Sorry,
gonna
just reading it. Just
Go
reading
ahead.
the top part. Okay.
Yeah, I also don't want to push anybody, so if you need a few moments to decide.
I think
I picked the celebrity. We
Ooh.
all recognize you. Silence descends on any room you enter. Heads turn. People talk to you about the latest gossip.
I like that a lot. Right.
I can go next.
Do it up.
I picked the innocent. Why is there so much anger? We're all in this together. If only we could all just get along. People talk to you when they're worried about you.
Ooh.
It's really good.
Kind of trying to
Go
make
ahead.
some space.
Yeah.
So I chose the Sage. You know so much of the past, so much that we're doomed to repeat. People talk to you about burning questions.
Ooh.
Ominous.
I like it.
I picked the mediator. Factions in the isolation are often at each other's throats. You keep the peace as best you can. People talk to you about resolving conflict.
Oh, that's so good. All right, so we have a mediator, a sage, an innocent, a celebrity, and the scrounger. I'm like, wait, shit, who am I? And the scrounger. Awesome. So then the next stage of character creation is we give our introductions, which should include our name, our role, our relationship to the aspects as prompted by these cards. So at the bottom of your card is that red text, which will determine how you want to connect or not connect, accordingly with the aspects. So, for example, the Scrounger, I have an option to either identify with two of the aspects, or perhaps one of our aspects is causing the scarcity. And just to sort of keep the same order going, I'm going to say that my Scrounger's name, because this is our introduction section, so this is when we get to sort of flesh things out a bit. My name will be, I don't know, I'll come back to that. But I do know that I think I'm going to go with one of the aspects is causing the scarcity, and that's going to be that internal threat of the schism between the two groups. Oh my god, that storm is still going. So, like, the scarcity might be being caused by that group that is convinced that Earth is still going to be sending people here and that we need to be prepared to, receive more mouths to feed and stuff. So maybe they're almost like hoarding resources in a way. And that I think would piss me off because I'm, the scavenger. I'm going out there trying to get enough things so we can survive. And I think I would not necessarily agree with these people. With that group. I need a good name though. That's still what I need.
Just go to behindthename.com on your Google.
Yeah, right.
Just pick something.
We will also, by the way, like part of it is we choose like our character's name, but then there's also sort of a nickname or like a call sign type name that people in the community might refer you to. You might have a preference over one or the other. you know, like maybe you're somebody who works a lot in the communication section, so you have like a call sign from being over the radio or something, or just some other nickname because of what you do. Like, I think I'm going to go with my name will be, my real name is Frankie, they them, and they are called, I'm gonna say they're called scouts, sort of. It began like affectionately because maybe they were one of the like newer people on the mission, and that was just like the sort of cutesy nickname that they were given when they were like, go ahead, scout things out. But now it's become sort of more of like a standard, like, you know, grizzled nickname almost that people will refer to them as. So that'll be my deal. And I think that's pretty much what you need for us out of the character creation. So your name, your role, and your relationship to the archetypes, any other information that you want to give. Gonna try to figure out how to add this stuff to the Roll20. So somebody talk while I do it.
All right. So my character's name is going to be Dr. Dolores Stewart. As the celebrity, I identify well with only one of the aspects, and it made me famous. So I think Dr. Dolores was one of the original scientists, or maybe the original person spearheading the expedition originally. And now, ever since we've lost communication with Earth, she doesn't really know what her purpose is anymore. So she identifies with only one of the aspects, and I think that would be nourish the seed, and maybe not return to the water, remember the roots, because that, like, in her mind, Earth kind of abandoned them, and either they abandoned them or they're gone and there's absolutely no hope. So Dolores is a futurist.
I love that a lot.
And what name? Like a different name. What would people call that?
You could just be Doc. That like standard space like doctor. I mean, you don't have to be. That just came out like.
I don't know. I'm thinking something like the botanist or the cultivator or something.
Ooh, the cultivator sounds really metal.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. AKA the cultivator. All right. Who's got a character idea? Let's hear it.
I have everything except the like special nickname for mine.
That's fine.
But maybe it will come out of talking about her. So I'm thinking. So I picked the mediator. So my character is Commander Eva Cadierno. She, her pronouns, and I'm thinking that she was like the second in command of like to the captain of the ship that brought everyone here.
Ooh.
And I'm just thinking of like been watching a lot of Star Trek. How
too.
like the second in command, say like Chakotay or whatever, like their job seems to very much be caring for the needs of the crew and considering like multiple aspects of what the crew needs and resolving conflict. So I think her being in that position on the ship means that when they settle in this colony, she's sort of like uniquely qualified to try and hold the needs of both the futurists and the believers in each hand and try to like keep them from being too much at odds with each other and try to like make sure people's needs are being met and sort of take that like administrative like commandment position in the colony. I just don't know what her like nickname should be. um,
It was Commander Ava. Can I have her surname again, please?
Catiano. I couldn't put it in
If you
the.
could spell it for me, I don't want to just make that up. I want to make sure I get it right.
It's in the Zoom chat.
Thank you.
I mean, it could even just be Commander. Like, they could just call her by her rank.
Sure, that's up to you if you want to go that.
Yeah.
Like,
and maybe like the person who was the captain of that ship is now on like one side of the conflict, and she's having to kind of try and like keep the peace.
ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Awesome. So we should have a character for that up on here too, if it's showing up somewhere. How do I do that? I think I can just drop it. Oh, no, it doesn't do it right. I'll figure it out. Who wants to go next? Who we still
I
need
can
to
go
hear.
ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
So I chose a sage. I think their name is going to be Oliver. They don't really have a last name. They just go by Oliver. And I think while he is a scientist, he's also somewhat of a historian. So he remembers and has documented like a lot of like what has led up to us leaving Earth and trying to get things started on Mars. And a lot of what he does is like make sure that we're not making the same mistakes that we did on Earth here with planting and respecting the planet and everything. So I think that's his main deal, is making sure that whatever we're doing is respectful to the environment, unlike what we were doing on Earth. So
I like that a lot. Let's see, what do you want his like nickname or call sign or what have you?
Honestly, probably the historian, just because that's his primary thing, is like making sure we don't forget.
Historian. I like that. Oh no, and then I'm like changing the size real weird. Okay. So I'm making just little cards with everybody's names and their call signs, and putting them on the Roll20 at each of the little points on the outermost ring. This represents our space for age 1, and as we proceed, things will get sort of added in those spaces and go inwards. And I think Leona, that leaves our innocent.
Yes. So my character's name is Jaya, Jaya. She uses she, her pronouns. And because she is the innocent, she identifies with all of the aspects. And she just wants everyone to get along. She just wants to grow plants. Like she just wants to grow plants. Like her nickname is Rose because that's her favorite flower, and she has a garden of flowers in addition to like the crops that she cultivates, because she wants there to be beautiful things on Mars too. Like she just wants to provide and bring goodness and happiness. And so that's her. Very innocent and just wanting to give. Oh, I think you muted.
Sorry, I'm having a like Roll20 trying to figure out how to do things. Sorry about that. Because after this, we need to draw our next deck of cards.
Ooh.
I'm just trying to figure out where to generate them because it's hidden for me. I can't get it. Hang on. If honestly, like if actual worst came to worst, I do have the hard copy of the decks, but it's so cool and I want to use it. Done. Where?
I think if you go to the collection tab under the decks, I think.
Collection tab.
So you see in the top right, there's the chat, the journal, and then right
thank
next
you.
to the top. Yeah.
Oh, Reliable, you are MVP right now. Okay, so here we go. With age 1, actually maybe, so we have Frankie the Scout, we have Dr. Dolores Stewart, aka the Cultivator, Commander Ava Cadierno, is that right? AKA Commander. Oliver, aka the Historian, and I'm so sorry, Jay, I was distracted by our roll 20. What would you like your call sign to be?
It is Rose.
Rose, thank you. Okay, let me make you a card real quick. But otherwise, we're gonna be ready to move on to. Wait, why didn't that copy? We're gonna move on to here. So let me deal us each. We each get 3 Age 1 decks, which are coming to you right now, players. These should be appearing to the right of the first deck that you had. And how this is going to work is there's no particular order that we need to, actually play. Again, this is all very free and open. But we're each going to pick one of these cards, and we're going to make some sort of a connection with this card. You play this card from your hand and tie it into one of the aspects from this current age. You explain why the isolation's language for the concept of this card has emerged from that aspect, like, how it came to be. And then from there, the person who is playing the card gets to build a word that represents this aspect, this term on your deck card. Once we decide on what that word and term is, the card drawer gets to pick anybody in our group, really, to play out a scene, to have a conversation that uses this word, or maybe even, again, like, you might want to pointedly not use a word, but it's, you tie it in to this connection somehow. So if somebody is looking at their cards and you see something that you really want to do, feel free to speak up. I'm just looking through mine right now. And again, it's one of those things where we can workshop what the word and the term is, but the person who's drawn and playing the card, you get the final say. When you draw these cards, the red word that appears at top is the word that we're choosing to make a connection with, to tie it into one of our 3 aspects. You can sort of use the black text underneath it as a descriptor. It's an idea to launch off of. And then the red text at the very bottom is the prompt for the conversation that you get to choose. I really love the mechanics for this game. I think that's such a really beautiful way to sort of put a conversation and a role play scene together. So I'm so excited to see what we do.
I have one that I think could be pretty cool.
Ooh, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, do I just put it on the
yeah,
thing?
You can put it up.
Draw it?
Yeah, I think you can draw it, or drop it.
Okay. Money. Currency within the isolation. What do we exchange for services, and how do we acquire something more than basic necessities? So the prompt is what money can buy here. I'm going to say that we probably don't have money in the standard sense, without, there being any connection, any communication with Earth right now. That probably also disrupted banking.
Ooh.
So I don't think that we'd have the same sort of paper or coin money that we once had on Earth. So I feel like it would be more of bartering system.
I like that. So, what do you think we call it then? Are you thinking a term for the act of bartering, or for the deal that is bartered for, kind of?
I don't know. I'm thinking it because not everything is equivalent or equal to each other. I feel like they had to have come up with some credit system where it's not I'm going to barter my chicken for a mattress. That's not equal.
Is it a chore bartering kind of? You barter with generic kind of tasks that you can trade off. Like I'll like if I, if you give me this, like I'll do the dishes your next shift or something.
Maybe. I mean, people probably have like regular jobs that they have to do to survive,
Mhm.
like to keep everything functioning. So they'd have to have some way to get paid. So I'm thinking it's got to be like some kind of credit system where
Just
if you work so many hours, you get so many like credits. I'm just trying to figure out how you would quantify the credits of the job you've done.
Mhm. Like what do those credits do in a society without money?
Yeah.
Maybe
We're a communist cult. Come on, this is difficult.
I know.
No.
It's like money for the communist cult. Let's see. Right? Because it's like that has the opportunity for all kinds of wild capitalist shit to make its way into the colony too. Like, is it
Mhm.
something where like this need for money and credits only evolved as time went on?
I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Because like if we had all came here, thinking this is a 5-year mission and that's gotten extended, like I could see that, maybe our little communist our little communist settlement is beginning to unravel.
Or maybe some people, like maybe we're still using some Earth money, but fewer and fewer people are seeing any value
Ooh,
in that money.
I like that. That's pretty cool. What do we want to
So,
call it then?
I mean, it could be, are you going to pay in cash or credit? And cash could be Earth money, and credit would essentially be like, what can you offer me? That's
Just sort of
not
an
money.
open-ended, like,
Yeah.
what do you have that really matters kind of? I like that.
Are you buying or bartering?
Ah.
I like that.
So, like, you can still buy things with traditional money, but not as many people accept it.
I like it. I like it. Okay. So we'll call, so like what word or like what word are you creating then? What you want to stick it with credit?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
credit.
I just want to make sure I have like the right thing before I like add it into our thing. I'm just gonna shrink the card down, so I can see what I am doing. And then our first word item is going to be credit for money. Credit, parenthesis, S. Awesome. So Abby, that means you get to choose how you want us to do a connections for our word for money for credits. You can choose as many people as you want. It can include yourself in the scene. And you get to pick who's involved, and you just sort of read us that prompt at the bottom of your card, which I'm making bigger again.
um, All right. I think that the historian would be good here. So Oliver, um, as well as myself and Scout, Frankie Scout.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Here we go. And I'm trying to set it up so that all of our cards are on like one of those little points, making up that outer ring. So we each have one corner that's got our name character card, and I'm going to try to keep like the words that we come up with sort of connected over there. Excellent. So we're going to begin with a conversation between Dr. Dolores Stewart, aka the cultivator, Oliver, aka the historian, and Frankie, aka Scout, about money and credits. Let's see. So anybody, like if you have an idea for a framing for the scene that you want to do, you can do it. You can just sort of jump in, like Abby, if you've got sort of, if you want to set the scene for us, where are we?
I think we all ran into each other while we're out doing like regular like grocery shopping essentially.
Okay, so maybe we're like at the market, like our
Yeah.
market dome.
Yeah. We're at
I like
the
it.
farmers market dome.
The farmers market dome. Oh my god.
They're all farmers markets here.
We're all farmers markets.
Mhm.
Excellent. I like it a lot. Great. So I think then in that case you would find Frankie or Scout. They don't really care what people call them. They're fine with either. I'm thinking maybe they like just came back from a mission, maybe scouting something out. And they're just making their way through the market trying to sort of trade some of these ore deposit pieces that they found for maybe more equipment to like make another venture, because I imagine we've sort of got like almost a finite amount of space suits and things like that for these excursions. So I bet that's kind of what I'm thinking. So you'll see Frankie making their way down with like this big heavy bag full of space rocks.
Dr. Dolores will be kind of perusing, trying to select produce for the week, and very carefully choosing the shops that she goes to. The people around can notice that it's very noticeable that Dolores doesn't want to go to specific places and will go out of her way to avoid going there.
Where's Oliver?
Oliver is probably trying to find. He's probably trying to do something nice for the people in his work unit. So he's probably trying to either get lunch for the day for them, or just get some small little trinket that they could all have, something to just show his appreciation of their respect of everything that's been going on and whatnot. So
Excellent. So I'll say Frankie's kind of maybe Frankie stopped at a stall in this farmer's market arguing with somebody, trying to barter some of these ores for, I'll say, just it seems like a sort of basic sort of rubber tubing that they need for something for their rigs. And as you're coming up, you can tell that they're having a disagreement with somebody over they don't have any earth money left, so they only have things to barter with anymore. And I think that you see them just sort of turn aside, being like, yeah, well, your credits aren't gonna be good for me either then. Like, just bitterly stomping away. Like, oh, hey, you two.
Everything all right, Frankie?
I see you haven't quite learned which shops take earth money and which take credit.
Well, I mean, it's every time I come back from the freaking mission, there's a new person set up in a new spot. I don't know where everything changes every time.
You do rotate, so.
Well, and I mean, fewer and fewer people want earth money anyway, and some people are just really holding on to the past.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't seem like fewer people want it. It's all I've been hearing today, at least.
I personally don't understand it. Why are we still putting value in this paper anyway? And he just holds up a 5.
It's $100.
This makes no sense. It's paper. What is this gonna get me if we end up going back to Earth in the first place?
I mean, honestly, do we even know that this currency is still good on Earth? Been dark for so long.
It's true.
Exactly.
I mean, do either of you two need some ore deposits or something? We can, take some credits for some ore if you got. I gotta get some tubing if you got some earth dollars. I'll just hold out a red rock. Do you I know you don't like the earth money either, but do you have any? I got this at least. It's not much.
Yeah, I've sure, and they'll hand over some money to you. I'm sure I can find something to do with this. Maybe make a centerpiece.
No, Oliver,
Something.
thank you, Oliver. I just like they'll sort of give you like the double handshake. Like I've been out here since 0600, just going around trying to find somebody who's going to take some of these goddamn rocks. They're really useful rocks too, you know. I mean, you need them to keep the heat structures going, but you'd think they were freaking more worthless than this. And I wave that same 5 like angrily in front of us.
Yeah, I think we might be moving towards a position of not hanging on to this as much. I hope. Uh-oh.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, Oliver, it's kind of nice to hear you say that. Like, you got a good eye out for how things seem to go. So, if you think people are really gonna start phasing this stuff out for credit, I'm really glad to hear that. That's a relief.
I mean, if you look back at Earth history, we were trading gold at first. And then they moved to this. Still looking at the paper. So can't be too long before we move to something a little bit more reasonable.
Well, let's hope I can find enough, oxygen tubing and before that happens at least. But thanks for the help, Oliver. If you ever need anything, your credit's good with me.
Thank you for that.
And Doctor, I mean, same to you. I just appreciate you hearing me out right now. And it's been a rough morning.
I mean, what if we all just said no more Earth money? Who has the power to say that?
I mean, I don't know. I guess we would have to talk to the captain about it. Maybe the commander can put a good word in if we actually wanted to have a meeting. It's been a while, really, since we've kind of touched base about that, actually.
Would make sense.
All right, well, now that I've got this, I guess I better go apologize to that asshole, get some of that tubing that I need. Thank you again. And they just give you both like really sincere, the double handshake again. Just they're glad to have somebody who seems on the same page as them. And unless there's anything that Oliver and the doctor would like to sort of sign off with, I think that's good for this conversation. What do you guys think?
All good.
Right, awesome. So we now have our first word, which is credit or credits for our barter system. Who would like to go next? Someone have a word you want to do? Okay, if nobody's got one, I'll go, I guess. I'm gonna get real here again because I think this is something really important for the harsh environment we're in. We're gonna learn death. We're gonna make a word for death, which is our language for ultimate loss. The prompt for the conversation is going to be letting go. So I kind of this is something that I think would be really good to tie back into our nature-y aspects, because even on Earth we have that whole from dusk to dust aspect of some funeral rites and things like that. It's I want to take something, I don't want to just make it somebody got dusted or something like that, because I know Mars itself has that red dust aspect to it, so I like tying that in too. But I'm not I'm open to some sort of ideas, maybe something to do with a season ending, or a seed not a plant dying or withering or something like that. I'm just trying to sort of tie it into our nature hippie commune. Ooh, that's so creepy sounding. Somebody dies, they're harvested. Oh.
Not a cult.
Right, not a cult.
It's not a cult.
Oh.
Right? That gets too dark.
Well,
This
you
isn't
did make a
Wally,
good.
that's too dark. I just want to point out that that was sad.
You did make a good point there of like, well, so when plants die, you can kind of use a dead plant to give nourishment to something else. So maybe something that ties in with like somehow you're even in your death, you're providing nourishment to something else. I don't
Ooh.
know. Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't there a name for there's like a type of tree or plant where they actually like need forest fires in order for their seeds to germinate?
Oh.
It's like that whole thing of like through destruction comes new life or something.
Yeah, I like that.
I just can't remember what it's called.
You know, I'm like, we could try and look it up real quick if someone can, but we don't need to. I'm trying to think, because I really like this. Like, I feel like it's that sort of solemn thing here where death feels both really final, but almost no matter what we would do, you know, with people who did die within this society, it's almost like some aspect of their death would potentially help somehow, you know? Like if people are cremated, their ashes can be used to help fertilize things better.
They're called pyrophytic or pyrophytic plants. I'm not sure how to
Pyrophytic
pronounce it.
plants.
I don't know if that's useful.
I'm like trying to think if we can like mix up the words or the letters or take a piece of it somehow. Like maybe it is a custom for people to be like cremated in our little society and have their like ashes used to like in the crops. Ooh, I actually like that.
Or
I like that a lot.
I was thinking like rebirth, like they've joined the rebirth.
Ooh.
Oh,
I like that. I like that a lot.
that's
okay.
Cool.
I really like that. Yeah, so let's go with like scatter or scattering. Like that's the term. And the scene prompt then is letting go. And I think it would be good to have our I think we're gonna have Jaya and Ava because I want to see that dynamic for sure of like your archetypes dealing with this kind of issue because I feel like you're two people who people would probably come to about this. You know, like somebody in a position sort of authority. And then the innocent was a card that was like sort of very somebody speaking to them, like it was a lot of like mediation or speaking to them, right? I'm just trying to remember the details for the innocent card. I think that would play in cool, so I want to see a scene between Ava and Jaya.
Just us two?
Yeah. If you would like, we can definitely add somebody more, but I think that would be a cool dynamic.
Okay. Is there like any further prompt than that, or do we just sort of?
It is just called letting go, and you can sort of shape it or set the scene. So if it will help because it's my card, I will say you find yourselves at a scattering. It can either be right before or maybe like right after. And that'll be sort of like where this takes place.
Okay. I think maybe if this is like a scattering that a lot of people have attended, maybe it's someone quite important who's died. And that might be why Eva is there. Like maybe it's someone that she worked with, like one of the other like commanders from the ship or something. Sort of like giving a speech for them or something like that, maybe. And then it's sort of like after all of that has taken place, people are sort of mingling and comforting each other and stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
I think Jaya will approach you and be like, Commander, it's good to see you.
oh, Rose, it's good to see you too. I'm sorry it's not under nicer circumstances.
No, I think these are okay circumstances. A scattering is sad but full of hope.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Did you know them well?
Yes, actually, we were friends uh, back on Earth before we came here. Worked together for a while before we took this mission together. So
No, I'm so sorry. Well, um, what was the thing? I was about to tie in something. Um, um, well, we will remember the roots, and we will remember them.
we will. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, it's always important to remember the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Is that scene? I don't know.
It definitely can be. It's kind of whenever you feel like you've gotten what you want out, out of the moment. So if you feel like that's sort of good closure of discussing that life and death cycle, that can definitely be seen. It's totally your call.
yeah, I think so. That's short and sweet.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is they
Yeah.
don't need to
They
be
don't all
long
have to
at
be long.
all.
Yeah.
They can be brief, they can be longer and like really intense. They can be lighthearted and, quick. But I like that. I just love the visual of like the solemn sort of scattering and like the biodome farm, everybody dressed in their space cult best. Awesome. So we have death and money credits, which I totally misspelled on the Roll20. Whatever, it's there forever now. And yeah, if somebody has their next card ready that you would like to draw, please go ahead.
Um,
Oh no. Yeah, no worries.
Can I just get a reminder of for the different characters, like where they lie on like the believers and function futurists?
Sure.
Scale.
So Frankie the scout is definitely like the futurist on like right futurist was the side that it's like we need to focus on us now, like forget Earth. Okay, yeah. So
like
that's where
develop the
Frankie
colony.
lies.
Okay. What about the others? If they have like a particular
Yeah, you
allegiance.
could be neutral too, of course.
I feel like
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. I feel like Oliver is more so moderate. Like he tries not to have too much hope, but still like believes that there's always a chance that they're still alive and that they could join us. So
Yeah, Jaya as well is very neutral. She just wants everyone to get along.
Okay. Can anyone remember what
I think the cultivator was more. She seemed, at least when we were talking, more on the side of the futurists in the scene with Frankie and the others.
Okay, so we don't really have anyone that's like fully on the believer side.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting, though.
Yeah. So what's that character name? Sorry, I'm just thinking of like which of the words I'm gonna pick and like how that might affect things.
Yeah, no problem. And if anybody is able to speak up too, if you need a few more moments to sort of decide.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trying to like clear my stuff a bit.
I have some ideas for I have the card for expletive, which I think could be interesting. So should I just like put that down?
Yeah, you can play it. I'll move it over.
Yeah. So like tying it into some of the aspects, I was thinking about like what is the antithesis of what we're trying to do here, because an expletive is, you know, something where you're insulting someone or sort of deriding them for like not doing the correct thing. So I was thinking about sort of words that mean the opposite of some of the words that we've been throwing around, and then two words that came to mind were either like arid, as in like something being completely dried up and devoid of water and life, or uproot, where you're like pulling something out of the ground before it's ready, and like
Ooh.
cutting it off from its source of life. So like throwing either like one of those words, or like combining them, or like extrapolating on them in some sense, like throwing that at someone and being like, you know, I hope your home is arid, or something like that, where it's like, you know,
Yeah.
wishing the worst thing possible upon them, you know.
Ooh.
I like that. Or like insulting somebody by calling them, like, like you're arid, like you're just mean and, like uncaring about anybody kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, exactly.
That could be cool.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, arid is more like descriptive and uproot is maybe more of like a verb. So
We
I
can
don't
mix it too. Like,
Mm.
that's one of the cool things with language, especially in this game, is it's living and growing. So we can absolutely, verb a noun, noun a verb, like whatever we want to do.
But yeah,
Like,
I was like trying to decide between the phrases. I was like, they both work really well. Like you could
I like it.
sort of turn to someone and say like, you've uprooted yourself, as in, and that would be like saying that you've forgotten your roots. You haven't like with the roots, or you haven't returned to the water. You've like uprooted yourself.
Ooh, I like that.
That could be like what the believers call the futurists.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that, and it ties really heavily into the aspects too.
Mm.
I'm into it. So is that what we want to go with then? Like
Yeah.
the expletive is uproot.
Yeah, and it can be used as like a verb, so you can use it as like you've uprooted yourself, or go uproot yourself.
Go uproot yourself. No, I really like that. Or like, somebody maybe who's a troublemaker, like you can describe them like, yeah, they're a real uprooter, like you don't want to work with them on a project.
I love that.
Oh my gosh.
But for a scene, this is why I was asking where everyone's allegiances lay.
Yeah.
I was like, trying to get like two people with polar opposite views. But I guess maybe like if Oliver is like slightly more towards the believer's end, maybe like sort of oh sorry, and the on the expletive card, can I make it bigger again so I can read it better? Read the little the thing at the bottom for the scene. So the prompt is a moment we'll later regret. So I was thinking of sort of like a blowout between people from sort of opposite sides of this division, sort of and possibly, I guess, like with Eva being the mediator, maybe it would like involve my character as well, sort of like trying to come to some sort of agreement or arrangement on something, and it just getting out of hand and like no one being able to agree with one another, was like what I was thinking. But there's not really anyone who's like firmly on the believer's end, but I just think like you've said that Oliver is maybe like slightly more towards that end, and then
Oh yeah, definitely.
and then maybe Eva, and then either like Frankie or Dolores involved in this scene.
Yeah, sure. I like it. So some sort of an argument is going on about something, and maybe we've come to Ava for, mediation, or she's just stepped in.
Yeah, I guess if Abby's subtitles are still having problems, but it should be.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Abby. Work on you. Focus on tech. Sorry, the cat's uprooted your captions. I did it. See how a language grows. Oh. train your
She was
cats how to
so
do
proud
tech.
of herself.
That's what it means. Okay, awesome. So we've got then Ava, Frankie, and Oliver in the scene then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe if there's like some kind of disagreement that's already happened or something, and Eva is like trying to sort of calm things down and make things work.
Right.
So maybe we're in like her office, or maybe she's even like come across you guys somewhere where the argument is taking place or something. I don't know.
Ooh. What could it be? Like, I'm kind of picturing maybe something where, like, Frankie is trying to do something that's very steadfastly, like, futurist focused. You know, like, I think we need to, like, get rid of these stores or like, give these stores of, like, backup food out to people right now or something. Actually, you know what? Yeah, because we had sort of been talking a bit about how just, like, maybe, like, water production is important. Yeah, I kind of like that. Like, maybe Frankie thinks that we need to open up a stockpile. And I don't know, Oliver, you could either be disagreeing or maybe playing devil's advocate. What do you think?
I think maybe Oliver is trying to say we need to slow down with this. There's way too many things that we need to consider. And way too many other people we need to talk to before like this should be a thing. And also just like trying to remind Frankie, hey, they tried this on Earth. Look where it got us. So
I like it. I like it. Cool. So, maybe we're like arguing just in a hall somewhere. Like maybe we were, or in front of like the controls for whatever it is. Let's just say it's like a water control, and I'm like, I think we need to increase water so we can do like higher production for us now. And people are like, no, we need to save water stores for when, like more people come or something. Actually, no, maybe that doesn't quite make sense. Maybe vice versa. Maybe I'm like, I need to save our water stores for us, and other people are like, we need more water to grow more food than we can actually eat ourselves right now.
Yeah.
All right. So, maybe we're arguing like in one of those kind of underground tunnels near the water controls. Like Frankie was just gonna take it upon themselves to be like, nope, I'm done. So I kind of like the idea of like Ava coming up on us while we're like yelling at each other, and Frankie's just like, look, I mean, we need to think about the people who are alive and here right now. We don't even know if people are going to be coming from Earth ever. You want to just leave us?
That does not mean that we can't just completely disregard the idea that they might be here. We have no confirmation that they're not coming.
So you would rather
until we have that confirmation, we can't make these decisions.
So you would rather just sit here and, watch people that we can see here and now rationing our water, not, wasting it on food that's going to just spoil in our stores anyway? How does that help anybody?
No one is dying in the process of us trying to save for the future.
Not yet.
And once it gets to that point that we need to start considering that, we will. But right now, it's not a problem. Just because you've uprooted your beliefs and everything doesn't mean we have to.
Oh, you want to talk to me about uprooting? How is forgetting the importance about all of the people who are here right now not uprooting everything that we've been trying to grow for the last 5 damn years?
I understand that, and I understand all the work that we've been going through, more than a lot of people here. But I also understand the history of how we got here, the history of everything that led us to have to leave the planet in the first place. We're not repeating those mistakes again.
At this point, I think you hear like footsteps coming down the hall, and Eva like rounds a corner, furious, and just like, you know that everyone the next floor up can hear you shouting at each other, right? What is this about?
Well, then, good. Maybe they'll freaking start saving their own goddamn water and stop wasting it on the plants that we don't even need right now. Hi, Ava.
Hi. Can we just slow down, calm down? What is this about?
Frankie, would you like to explain what you are trying to put forward that is probably detrimental to all of us?
Okay, you know what? I don't need that sort of attitude, Oliver. Look, Ava, you've probably you have to have noticed that we're just going right through the water stores in our tanks right now. People are trying to expand the crops, and we don't need that much. Not just with the people we have left.
I understand that the communications blackout is stressful, but we have to bear in mind our mission here. And we have scouts out searching for new supplies.
Yeah, I know.
Like yourself.
There's not that much left. I don't know how much more we're gonna keep finding, and if we finish the water we have here, it seems so wasteful.
It may seem wasteful in the short term, but in the long term, when we have things that we haven't considered, things that we don't know are going to happen, we can't make decisions based off of what we see right now. We have to predict what's going to happen if we can.
But that's why we need to save this water, you know? I mean, if we save the water now and we need the crops later, the water will still be there. If we waste it on plants right now, what the hell are we gonna do? What if another tank leaks?
All right, Frankie, I understand where you're coming from, but perhaps if you're going to... I would rather you did not take it upon yourself to come down here, and I presume you were going to do something.
Well, something needs to be done because nobody is doing anything.
Maybe next time you could try coming and talking to me instead, and we can figure out a way to try and maybe divert or save some of the supply. Maybe we slow down a little on food production, but we still need to keep food production going.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying we stop food production, but we definitely don't need to be expanding.
Well, maybe there's a compromise we can reach where we don't expand as much.
That's what I mean.
And this is a larger conversation that needs to be held in a larger group than just us. So
Fine, we can put another wonderful, very productive talk on, the agenda, and I'm sure decisions will be made eventually. I just hope there will be somebody left to attend anybody's goddamn scattering when all is said and done, because the rate we're going, there's not going to be anything but empty tunnels and domes by the time anybody even gets here, if they do.
You are free to come and talk to me in my office if you're willing to, not throw around expletives and insults. There is more at work here than this one aspect of our community, and I have to consider all of that when I'm making decisions.
I'm trying to consider all of that, but it seems like nobody else is. So you know what? Fine, I'll come and talk to you, and I'm sure everything will work out totally fine. All of our decisions have just been perfect so far, so I mean, it's fine. I'm sure we'll have plenty of water for everybody here. Mars has lots of it, right? They just sort of turn around and kick the the wall, and they're like, ah! And just sort of will start storming off angrily, like, fine.
When you've calmed down, come and see me.
You just hear angry grumbling echoing down the hall as Frankie continues and leaves you two.
Oliver has just been wide-eyed at all of this and just turns to Eva. Commander, if you need any more information on levels and everything, I'm just going to be in my office.
Thank you, Oliver. And you see her kind of just put her hand to her head, she's so tired.
God.
That was spicy.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. All right, so are we feeling good about the conversation there?
Oh, that got intense.
A moment we will regret.
I am honestly super sad I couldn't be in that one.
It's got to be spicy when the word expletive is the key word. I mean, That was really fun. I love you both very much. Oh gosh. Okay. Who else has a word? We've got, I think, 2 more to go. And then we'll be taking a break before we go into age 2, I think.
I have one. So my card is the future. So how we refer to what is yet to come and what it means to us. And I think for what's her name, Jaya, it's the future in the broad sense that she's talking about. I think, and I'm thinking of like, because she's so into flowers, like something about blossoming or blooming, right? Like something like the future. Like she has this very optimistic. She's innocent, right? So she has this very optimistic view of the future, and so she calls it the. Maybe she calls it the blooming. So yeah,
Like
okay,
that.
yeah, okay. She calls it the blooming then, and I think that would be what she calls it. The prompt is we have different visions. So who here feels like they don't agree with the fact that there's going to be a prosperous blooming and who disagrees? We're all looking at the same person.
Look. I think the problem is I'm concerned there's gonna be too much blooming. Not enough backups.
Yeah, if you want to, I'm kind of open to anyone joining actually. Whoever wants to talk about what future might look like for the colony.
Yeah, I'm totally down. I feel like I've been doing a lot.
Dr. Dolores would be down.
Okay, hop in. Whoever wants to hop in, let's do it.
Yeah, it could even be all of us. Like we can
Yeah.
have a full cast scene.
Oh yeah, that might be
Totally.
cool.
Let's do it.
Yeah, all right.
All
Set
right.
our scene.
Let's see. I think Jaya is in the garden, and I think she or in the garden that she has, and I think she's revealing this new flower species that she's created. She's somehow managed to like combine 2 different plants and create a new bloom. And so she's so excited that she announces it to everyone. And she goes, "I'm going to have a reveal party almost for this plant." And so she like invites everyone, whoever the heck wants to come to this reveal party, and so you're all kind of gathered there. And I think she gives this like really like a blooming reveal party. And I think she she stands there and she gives this speech and she says, "Thank you all so much for coming. It really means the world to me. I know that our blooming will someday be absolutely beautiful, but until then, I hope that this new creation, this new bloom will be a representation of our blooming." And she will kind of like reveal the flower, and there's like oohs and ahs, and there might be some dissonant voices in the crowd. We'll see.
Frankie's just kind of sulking but watching.
Well, what do you all think?
Rose, this is incredible work. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
You really have a talent for this.
I definitely think that this can really jumpstart our production so that as we continue to grow and expand and live here, this has so much potential.
Oh gosh, our blooming could be so fruitful.
Does it like grow fruit? What does it do?
Oh, well, this is just a flower. It's just beautiful for now, but I can do the same thing with food. I'm sure I can. It might take me a little bit of practice, but I'm sure I can do
innovative.
We have so few resources as it is, and it's very unlikely that we'll ever get any additional resources from Earth, and this is precisely what we need.
Perhaps there could be a way, as you said before, to apply this to some of our seeds for, fruit, vegetables.
Yeah, I can
increase production.
Yeah, I can go back to our roots, to the earth science, and find out how they, how they merge different fruits together, and I could create something.
So I mean,
Is
does it
it-
like does it take less resources or anything to grow this thing? Like,
Well, it gives us something new, something exciting.
I think what Rose is saying is it builds off the resources that we already have and gives us, like she said, new and exciting things.
yes,
I
that will
know.
certainly help keep us alive in the days to come. It's very pretty.
I know you don't believe that our blooming will be very successful. I know you think it will wither. But I think if we do not hold out hope, if we do not try if we do not try to cooperate, that will certainly be the end for us. That will absolutely mean that we wither. But if we can all collaborate and get along and share ideas, then our blooming, regardless of how we do it, will be fruitful.
Okay, well, I would like to share the idea that we bloom more productive things with less resource waste, maybe?
Unfortunately, if this doesn't prove to use fewer resources, then this technology has no place here.
Frankie kind of relaxes when like somebody else is like the resource, use isn't worth it.
Of course, we will take that into consideration. For now, this is an amazing achievement. It's something to be worked on, and I think we could be onto something here, something that could help us, diversify our yield and give people something new. Because frankly, I know a lot of people out there are sick of eating the same 5 things over and over again.
I have to see one more sweet potato, I'm going to die. I'm just letting it be known.
This could even be a way for us to figure out how to grow crops using less resources. So that's exactly what we're hoping will come out of this.
Exactly.
I will do my best.
We have the human power for it. But we just need to be careful of how we use these resources. The only resource that we have in excess right now is our time.
Frankly, the more we plow through the resources we do have, we're gonna just have less of that anyway. So, but
Science is using the resources you have to find optimal solutions. And I think Rose has done a very good job of doing that and will continue to do so.
Yes. With this technology, our blooming could be even better than we ever thought.
see, like Frankie kind of actively try to resist rolling their eyes every time somebody's very optimistically like our blooming, because they're like, yeah, this is our blooming. Deal with it, guys. So they're just like, yes, I'm sure it will be very lovely, full of very pretty things to look at.
Even just sort of
Good
shoot
job.
Frankie a look, like
This is their
here,
encouraging
not now.
face. Yes, it will be lovely. Well, this was a wonderful blooming reveal party, Rose, but I think I have some actual work to do.
Of course. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for coming.
Congratulations on your discovery, Rose. And Oliver will shake her hand.
Yeah, Eva will make sure to shake her hand quite like powerfully before she turns on her heel and leaves. She's just like, yes, good job.
I think that's scene, yeah. So I didn't intend for Frankie to be a huge asshole, but they totally are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Uproot you.
Yeah, you too. Anywho, I think we've got one more word then left for this age. Who did not go yet? Is that reliable? Yeah. All right. What do you got for us?
I've been like jumping between which one, because all 3 of them seem really good. But I think I'm gonna go with good luck.
Ooh. I like that.
So the text is how we affirm our hope in happy outcomes, a spoken wish for victory that bonds us together, a particular kind of luck or fortune for the isolation. For that, I was thinking about tying it somewhat towards what we were saying about water being like a very like important resource, and water being a very like foundational thing that we need and that everyone benefits from. So I sort of had this idea of I was jumping around and landed on flowing fortune to you, something like that, or a phrase like that.
Ooh. I like the use of
But-
like flowing or something.
But I'm definitely open to like workshopping that because I'm
Mm-hmm.
all over on it. So
What if it had like something to do, like if we want to go with the flowing route, maybe we sort of take like the word current or something. So when you say like good luck to somebody, you know, it's like, you know, like go with the current or something like that. Like may things
Yeah.
be smooth, and or we can, you know, whatever, reshape something, but
yeah, I like that.
Trying to think like how what is it called? Like there's specific gardens where they're like on a hill, or like things are planted on a hill so that water trickles down.
oh, we're all like learning a lot about botany
called?
today.
Yeah.
Oh, is it like the hills in the Sierra Nevada?
Irrigation thing. I don't remember what the name of it is.
Right? I'm like, I don't know.
Because we're talking about flowing and water.
Yeah.
Irrigation.
Irrigation.
Yeah.
Good irrigation to you.
Blessed irrigation.
Yeah, I don't know. What are y'all thinking?
All I can think is like go with the flow.
Right? Really embrace that hippie.
Yeah. It's a tribe of like a group of very angry hippies.
We're the angriest hippies I've ever met.
Yeah, like current or flow, like either of those I think work really well.
I like current because you could even be like, may the currents bring you joy or prosperity or
Huh.
something like that, or
Like
like
it's
good
easy
current
to
to you. Yeah.
Shape it and fit it. It's easy to smurf it, as it were.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think? It is your card
Yes,
and word
smurf it.
reliable,
Yeah.
so you get the final kind of shaping and say.
I don't like responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe just sticking with good currents or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Speaking
sort of just something you would say like when you're like saying goodbye to someone. It's like a like may the gods be ever in your favor type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. kind of. So I'll just leave it then as like good luck is current, and we can sort of shape it like into contextual, you know, descriptors and phrases as needed. If that works.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well then, you get to choose our scene with the little prompt at the bottom of the card.
Okay. So the prompt at the bottom is when good luck is needed most, and I think for our society that is definitely for when people are going out and exploring. So I definitely want Frankie in this one if you'd like to be.
Okay. Anger Frankie, let's go.
And honestly, it could be like a whole cast thing of just us like the send off before Frankie goes out to like do more exploring and whatnot. So
like yeah, would
like
there
it.
be any like ceremony surrounding it, because it's like it's a dangerous thing to go
Oh.
out and do this
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Like, maybe there's almost like a sort of ceremonial aspect to it that develops.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that. Like it could have like a really, like if we want to tie it to the idea of current, it could somehow like have some sort of really pompous name, like Blessing of the Current or something like that.
Oh, yes.
Ooh,
Ooh.
And like that's just what we call this sort of, maybe it's like a send off and receive kind of thing, like
Mhm.
people go out and then people gather back when they return.
Mm.
I like that. So cool. All right.
Cool.
So if you want to set the scene for us, then this full cast send off.
So I think maybe it's probably like wrapping up the whole ceremony that the captain is like leading, of like giving a huge speech and thanking everyone who's going out for their sacrifices and their dedication to everything. And it's a very like pompous ceremony, and a lot of people are just like, why are we still doing this? But can we just say goodbye? But there's probably a part like right before where people get to like walk up and like give thanks or like have small conversations of like good luck, good currents, to the individuals that are leaving. So
Like it. Just the most awkward like wedding reception, but in reverse, kind of like
yes.
you get that like one by one, like good game, good game, good game.
GG.
Amazing.
Awesome. So I guess Frankie's getting ready to go out on some sort of scouting mission, all kitted out in like their little Mars spacesuit. Just kind of still grumpily frowning at people. I kind of like the idea that like maybe this is the work that they had to do like right after that blooming party. So like maybe this is like that same day we all are now also like saying goodbye on this big mission. If that's cool, that was just a thought.
Yeah, I like the idea of this all happening consecutively, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
This is
That
all
makes
one
sense.
day.
An entire age in a single day.
I mean, kind of, honestly. We had like shopping in the morning and God.
Poor Jaya can be the first one on the chopping block, and she'll walk up to Frankie, and she'll say, "Good currents to you, Frankie. I'm sure whatever you bring will blossom."
Thank you, Jay. I do appreciate that. Really.
Come back soon.
I will. I always do.
That's true.
Good luck with your research. Good. I hope the currents, bring you the answers that you're looking for.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Wow.
Whoa, that was an ominous
Big
thunderclap. That was thunder. Shit. Okay, I'm scared for this mission now.
All right. I think Dr. Dolores Stewart will approach Frankie next. Frankie, I wish that the currents lead you well on your expedition.
Thank you. Thanks, Doctor. I appreciate all the things that, you do trying to help us out here. I know I'm not here for a lot of it, but I still appreciate it.
Well, you still need somewhere to come back to. And she looks around, make sure no one's looking too closely, and will discreetly slip you like some extra rations of something, like some kind of like food. Just feel like, oh, don't forget to nourish your seed as well.
Thanks. I'll do the best I can, at least. I'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, I don't have any doubts.
I like clap her awkwardly on the shoulder. Like, yep, there.
I like to imagine that maybe after the not the previous scene, the one before, that like Frankie did come to Eva's office and they did like discuss some
I'm
things.
into that.
And Eva has been like saying her goodbyes and giving good luck to like all the other scouts who are going out, and she sort of like very pointedly left Frankie for the end. Like when it's like a little bit quieter maybe, and she'll just sort of like take them aside, and be like, look, Frankie, I understand things are tense right now. I know what it's like. The captain is very adamant that that we keep production up for the people who are potentially coming from Earth. But I also understand that we need to take care of ourselves. So I genuinely hope that the currents bring you favor and that you find what we're looking for out there.
Thanks, Commander. I appreciate it. I know everybody is just trying to do, the best with what we've got right now, and whatever they think is best for our blooming, but I appreciate everything that you do, trying to keep us all together. I can tell it's not easy, and I can tell I uproot stuff for you way more than probably anyone else, so thank you.
I have heard that word thrown around.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
But we also need people like you to make sure our roots are strong. And that the current keeps flowing.
Well, keep the current flowing here while I'm gone. Like they said, and I just sort of nod back towards where the doctor is. I'll be like, I'll need somewhere to come back to, so.
Yes.
Thanks. And you get a slightly less awkward shoulder pat.
You get a firm handshake.
Yeah.
So Oliver now walks up and immediately goes to shake Frankie's hand. What you're doing is very important. What you're doing is very important, and I think you know that. But it is very appreciated, and I wish you the best of currents as you go on this journey. You've made some really good points as of late, and I think that we're all going to need some good currents in order to right this society the way it needs to go. So your voice is appreciated, and we'll say that. Just come back so that you can continue to have it.
Thanks, Oliver. I appreciate that a lot. I mean, if I can get you to agree at least, some of the things I'm saying might make sense, then I guess maybe the current is with us. We can work things out. We have to, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, we're dead. Yeah, I think we're on our way to a good place, and these expeditions really help with that. So, blessed currents.
Thank you. And you, keep the current going here while I'm gone, all right?
As best I can.
Well, guess it's time to go do my part for our beautiful blooming. And I just sort of jam the helmet on and start queuing up for the exit. And I think that's scene, unless someone has something to add.
That was great.
But that is not only scene, that is age 1, because everybody has gone now, correct? I want to make sure I did not miss anybody in my own hecticness. Okay. Oh, wow. So that was really intense. We got some really cool things going. I think this is a good time to take a short break, because I don't want to have to rush us through ages, 2 and 3 or the legacy, but I don't want to keep us too super long. So let's take a quick stretch break. Everybody stretch, hydrate, take your meds, and we will be back shortly.
on. We're up.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us throughout the break. Hope you're all appropriately hydrated and stretched now. We are continuing our Chromatic Chimera Pride game with a game of Dialect by Thorny Games. Just so you know, we are running Tiltify donations for the Bale Project as well as the Trevor Project, and all bits, subs, and cheers and merch purchases from today are going to be donated to the Trevor Project. You can find our Tiltify links either in chat as well as down below in our info panel. And we are commencing with our adventure on the Martian outpost known as the Sprawl with the beginning of Age 2. The ages give us a sort of transition moments in time and special prompts that we talked about during the break to decide which of two different pathways into the future our isolation is going to take. So now that we are entering Age 2, we get a prompt for an event to foreshadow the end of the isolation. It finds its way into all conversation and is impossible to ignore. The prompts that we have chosen: we find something buried in the red sands far away from the outpost. It's from Earth, but it clearly wasn't meant for us. An advanced supply drop. This can only mean one thing: a second force is on the way. As we look through the supply crate, tensions mount. What do we find, and why are we so afraid? And this age begins with also we choose an aspect from that we developed in first age to somehow evolve or change. We can sort of decide what that change is and what the new aspect is that takes its place within this age, like how it sort of branches from it. It can either be an offshoot or like we want to start with that base aspect that we change. So just
loving all this tree language, because
right?
I think it could be the roots one, because this is the thing we've just had contact with.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Awesome. So just to refresh the audience or anybody joining us, as well as ourselves, our three existing aspects from Age 1 are nurture the seed, always return to the water, and remember the roots. Not a cult. So definitely not. So we're thinking we want to change the remember the roots one now that we are in Age 2.
Yeah, just because if we found something from Earth and like that, remember the roots was the phrase that was, to remind us of where we came from Earth.
So if we're going to go with that one sort of being the one that's shaping, I think it's important to decide also like why we're afraid now, because that seems like it's sort of the attitude that's permeating, the isolation. So I think we could probably tie that in, like, what?
I mean, I guess like naturally this would probably aggravate sort of the tensions between these two groups of people, where like, we have limited resources and we have been putting a lot of them into kitty sounds. We have to feed the cats.
He is just walking around with a toy mouse in his mouth and wants me to know that he caught something. That's what this is. Yes, you're such a good boy.
I'm proud of you too.
Internet is so proud of you,
That's
Curzon.
literally how my cat unplugged my computer earlier. She was so proud of herself for killing one of her toys.
Oh my god, he's bringing it over to me. Oh my god. Hello. Yes, I'm a terrible hunter. I can't provide for myself.
Yeah, Curzon on stream.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Curzon on stream.
I was just like, okay, I've got to move us through to stay on schedule. Now it's like, hello,
It's okay. It's okay to interrupt people when it's for a cat or a dog.
when it's for cats.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Anyway.
Like it could aggravate tensions between these two factions, where some people like now some people are like, you see why we had to like pump our resources into this, and now we might not have enough for like all these other people who are coming. But then similarly, the like Frankie and the other people who were talking about like conserving some of the water supply are like, and now we don't have enough water either.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Maybe something like,
I mean, it could be that like the believers are, their mindset is more there's not enough for them, and the futurists are probably thinking there's not enough for us.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm.
Let's see. So then what do we want to like reshape this aspect of remember the roots to reflect that new divide? I'm like trying to think of like something about like I can't remember what the actual term is. Like not like horticulture, but I guess horticulture, you know, like needing to trim and like reshape roots so that they grow in specific ways, you know? Like, yeah, our roots are remembered now. Now, like, how do we adapt to this new growth pattern or something?
Yeah.
Maybe something to the effect of prepare for the harvest, or
Ooh.
I don't know if harvest is the right word there, but something
I
around
mean, it could
there.
be like harvesting the roots or something. And then that same sort of divide is still like, yeah, we need to harvest the things we don't have prepared enough yet, or the resources that we won't have enough of anyway now.
Mm.
Something like that, I don't know. Thoughts?
Or maybe like something like the roots grow deeper, or you know, something where it's like like we are the new roots.
Ooh.
Or the roots have sprouted. Like it's almost like ominous. Like the roots have just like sprouted all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Unearth the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because now we're trying to pull this thing from Earth, you know, back up, kind of like people are coming. Like, we have this
The
advanced
bloom
supply
is upon
thing.
us.
Kind of, yeah.
Prepare for the first blooming.
The roots bloom.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking like prepare for the first blooming. Like it sounds
Yeah.
ominous, but it's like
Yeah.
exciting at the same time.
The aspect could just be something like, yeah, I don't know. The roots are blooming. It
Yeah,
could be remember the bloom, and we take the roots away, and it's like now we only have to think about the future.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Ooh, snap! Say what, Liza. What do y'all think? I'm
Mhm.
into
Yeah,
it.
I like that.
So,
Yeah,
shit,
I
what did
think
I
that'd be
actually
good.
say? Remember the
Remember the
bloom?
bloom. Yeah.
Like, what was that brain blast I just had? All right,
And
so,
it's gone.
and
Yeah.
it's gone forever.
I relate.
All right, so our new aspects then are nurture the seed, always return to the water, and remember the bloom. And I'm just going to move our other two into this middle ring as they represent where we are at age 2. Oh, I like that. Okay, so at this point now, I have also issued all of you age 2 cards for our next wordings. You also do have the option to discard a card and draw another card if you would like. Like if there's, you know, you want to try to get something else. Don't feel like you have to do that. But that is an option, and if there is a word that anybody gets that they feel like we want to Ooh, I've got a couple of good ones as I'm like pulling mine up. All right, I've got one that I can start with if people still like want to look them over. But if somebody sees one and they're like, "Oh, let's do this," like we can do that now too.
I have a good one, but I want to save it to the end of this act.
Sure. All right. Well, I've got the incredibly apt card Evolve. The action pretty much. So as pressure builds, we change in ways big and small. And so does our language. Make a connection, play on an aspect in the current age, and choose a word from the previous age. Move the word to the new aspect. And okay, so pretty much I'm going to choose a word that we have done and like we reshape it to mean something new. I wanted to play this kind of because it's like a new sort of element that might come up that someone else might also want to do. So I think it would be really cool if we change the word for the future somehow, because now that blooming is more imminent, I think it makes sense that that somehow has shifted. So
Our impending bloom.
the impending bloom. Oh my god. All right, well, that's what we're gonna have to retitle this VOD when we export it to YouTube. Dialect, the impending bloom. So let's see. I'm like thinking something to do with like blossoming, you know, like maybe now like instead of referring to the blooming, people begin to refer to, you know, like how things have blossomed now, and it may not always be in like a nice way, which I kind of like that juxtaposition too of like, you know, using something that's typically seen as like a beautiful flower blossoming as like something harmful even. So what do y'all think? Does that
That's cool. Like it's like things of it's almost like you could almost like say like, well, like this is blossoming into a problem type of a thing.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. I like that.
It's cool.
All right. So
Kind of like instead of saying, "Oh yeah, this really exploded," like, "Oh, this really blossomed."
Oh my god, I feel like that's something that like is gonna be turned into a word for like chorus bells when I screw up now.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even like connect
Yeah,
the two.
I was like, oh shit, that's apt. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna go with blossom for our new future word. Shoot, where is it on the map? I'm just gonna copy it and make a new one. And for the scene, oh man, I'd say this could be a really good everybody scene again, because it's like this is sort of the first conversation like dealing with this new thing. Like we found the supply crate with some sort of advanced supplies. Oh, we never really answered like what did we find in the crate that makes everybody kind of freaked out?
Maybe it could be, maybe they've like sent more sort of like different seeds for crops or something. It's sort of like the message is basically like, you need to grow these now because we're coming.
They just send us a ton of hamburger buns and we're like, we don't do that here.
Oh my god.
But no,
it's just cows. Cows that they want us to...
we didn't want cows. But
do you know how much it takes to feed a cow?
I do like where it's they maybe send more different kinds of seeds, and these aren't things that we've cultivated on Mars before. So trying to figure out how to cultivate all this new produce is like not only are we on a time crunch, but we also don't want to waste all the resources trying to make this work if it doesn't want to work.
Yeah, and also maybe like with my limited knowledge about farming and agriculture, like obviously some crops grow in different types of environments. So maybe like the reason there are different biodomes is so that different crops can be grown in the environments and temperatures and everything that they require. And that the things they've sent require basically building an entirely new biodome with a different environment from one we've built before.
I like it.
So it's like an environment we would need to like create anew, basically.
It's like we have to redo kind of all of the terraforming we've already done to make these biodomes like work. I kind of like that. And that's something where like either side of like that schism kind of loses out, because it's like this isn't what we've been preparing for anyway. Yeah. And then it's like, well, now we're not going to have enough for us no matter what. So I like that. Okay, so let's do that then. We've got like an all cast meeting in, I don't know, like the command center dome, the command dome. And you know, it's probably like been a while, let's say, because you know, like these are ages, there's some time that's passed. So, you know, maybe it's been like a few months or even a couple of years since like we first found that crate. So we still don't know when we need to have all of this stuff ready by, like, I say, like, we're all just kind of scrambling, trying to make things work as best we can.
Yeah.
Tensions mount. What do y'all think?
Oh, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Awesome. So that will be. Oh, thank you for the raid. I just saw. I'm like super behind on things. We really appreciate it, y'all. Um, so let's begin the scene then. I will say, as usual, Frankie is looking grumpy, like sitting at whatever. I'm picturing Space Command's table. We're all sitting around.
Oh yeah. I think Eva has probably aged quite rapidly in the year or so since we found this pod, as she's been put under like further and further demand to try and like meet both sides' needs and everything, and constantly being torn each way. Like she can't please anyone at like anymore, basically, and she's just kind of like so done.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh, I think Dr. Dolores would be kind of near the head of this command table or whatever, just going on a rant about we don't have things ready to cultivate these plants. Like, this is going to need an entirely new biodome. We do not have the resources for this. Like, we do not have the resources to put in to making a new one. That why would they send seeds and not what we need to
Well, they don't know
cultivate
what
the seeds?
they don't know what we need here.
They
Could
sent all
we
the scientists here.
Yeah, could we adapt one of the existing biodomes, shut down production on one biodome, and adapt it to suit these new seeds?
For experimentation? I don't know if that's for the best.
I mean, it's not going to help anybody if we get this new, biodome all set up and everything else is uprooted.
And not to mention, like, we already have such a difficult time with using earth money and bartering with credit, and this is just going to mess that up even more if there's suddenly less of one kind of produce, and we don't even know if we'll be able to cultivate the new kind. It'll just drive prices up. No one will ever be able to agree on any price for. There is no equivalent between earth money and credits.
I mean, I think this is a waste, but you all know that.
I mean, what do you want me to do? The captain is telling me that we have to cultivate these seeds somehow. There has to be a way. Do we... What if we use the tunnels? Can we adapt the tunnels into another greenhouse? Anything.
I don't know, Jan, that might be something you might know a little bit more about. I'd be worried about some sort of, contamination issues or something. I mean,
well, I mean, I've been doing all of these experimentations. I'm sure I can make something work. Maybe I can adapt these new seeds into something that fits our current biodomes. There might be something that we can do here.
I don't know if we could set aside an entire biodome to try to figure out this experiment, but maybe one of the greenhouses, if someone is willing to offer up one of their private greenhouses. But that requires us to, that's a big ask of the community. It's a big ask of the sprawl.
I would do it gladly. Anything for the Colin, everyone's happiness.
but I mean, is that gonna be enough? One greenhouse for, the number of seeds that they included in that drop?
No, but at least it's a start.
And if it
Yeah.
works, then we know it works and we can adapt it on a larger scale without risking losing crops for nothing.
Precisely.
I'm just trying to keep the blossoming in mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, not sure how great of a blossoming that's going to be if we run out of, water, or if our other crops get neglected, or if we contaminate our water supply. We don't even know anything. We don't know enough about these new crops anyway. Like, what if they impede the growth of other things? Like, we're in a whole new environment here, not like anything that, you know, we were doing when our old research, and they don't know any of the things that we've learned up here.
Do we even have a solid number of more people coming or a date to work with?
This is all we've had. There's still no other communication so far.
We've been looking around for, you know, other supply drops that maybe got missed, but so far this is the only one that we've been able to find out there. So, I don't know, but that's a lot. Even with our original numbers, I don't know if we would have been able to keep up with this.
You have to try something.
Yeah, well,
I promise. I'll be very, very careful with it. It'll only stay in my greenhouse, and that'll be the only thing that'll be affected if this turns out to go wrong. We'll be careful.
I just hope it'll be enough.
In the meantime, to ensure that, we should probably double down on the crops that we know are going to work. I know we don't have an arrival date, but it could be any time soon or far, so we have to start getting ready.
My only concern is that overplanting crops to prepare is not nourishing the seed. We could potentially be damaging it. And the bloom counts on us nurturing the seed.
And at this point, by the time the blossom actually comes, we're all going to be scattered anyway, so I don't even know why we keep having this same conversation, it feels like.
Your enthusiasm is inspiring as always.
Thank you, Commander. I strive to help.
Look, I know it's not the best situation we've all found ourselves in.
Honestly, it's the worst situation.
Yes. But look, this is why we're here. They are our roots, and we are here to nurture the seed for them, as well as ourselves. So this is what we have to do. Somehow we have to find a way.
All right, well, that's fine. We'll just keep uprooting everything that we've already built, so, you know, these people who we may not even be around to even see at this point who come will be very comfortable with their fancy new apples and stuff. All right, meeting adjourned. I don't know what else I at least can help here. I've got more maps to work on. We've got to find more drops if we can.
Adapting is not always uprooting.
Sure feels that way, doesn't it, though?
Just go.
I give like a very sarcastic salute and frump off.
I think Eva's become a lot more moody in the last year.
I think maybe everybody might.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that's an okay place for scene. Let's see.
No one is happy.
Nobody is happy. So I'm like, I want to make sure that we have enough time to like really give the scenes that we do enough justice. I'm an adult. So I'm thinking maybe for just the sake of speed, rather than everybody doing like a whole round for each age, we do like maybe 2 for age 2, and then 3 people, you know, who didn't go yet do the age 3, because I think age 3 is going to be like kind of the big one to shape things more. And then I'm hoping that will give us enough time to sort of give each scene its chance, and then give us our good legacy narration before we bounce.
Yeah.
Because I love all of these scenes so much, and I don't want to like cut anything short. So I think that might be a better way to still give everybody a chance to get to do a thing, if that works. Awesome. Yeah. So then if somebody has like a word for this age that you want us to do, I'd say let's do one more this round.
I have one that I think will be really cool, and if someone else has a better one, we can go with that. But mine is subgroup synonym, and it's where we have to pick a previously defined word and create a new word for it, and why a group in the isolation has a different word for the same concept.
Oh, that's cool.
Ooh.
Just
Yeah.
just to put forth another option, mine is what lies outside, which is like, how do we refer to the world outside of the isolation? So like Earth and
Ooh.
everything outside, like how do we start to like talk about it, and how does that shift and change? So that's another one to think about, because I thought that was really interesting too.
And just
We
to
could
throw the
combine
option
them,
out there,
honestly.
there's one I've got for pronoun. It says us, you, them, the abstract ways we group ourselves from one another. We have a special way to
Oh.
refer to some in the isolation. What is this new pronoun and how do we use it? Why is it important to who we are? Which could I
Ooh.
think I misread it the first time. I thought it meant like just another word for the isolation versus like the people coming from Earth, but I guess it could also be a subgroup within the isolation. from
Right. Like a
different
new
people.
sort of like us versus them terminology.
Hmm.
Oh, these are all really cool, and I'm into all of them. Something like, did somebody feel like a really strong like fuck yes?
I honestly think we could kind of combine Leona's and Issa's.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh, what are you thinking? Like,
because it's like, what do you call the people on the outside, and then a new pronoun for that, like,
okay,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, let's do it.
so we can
Let's
do like
combine some.
the new pronoun for specifically the outside, I guess,
Yeah.
just to sort of give us a focus. I'm into
Yeah.
that. All right, so then what do we call the outside then? What do we call people not of the sprawl?
All my thoughts were related to like things within it.
I mean, we could still, somehow do that and like twist it.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of already have that anyway because we came up with the whole like believers futurist thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think yeah, let's go with Leona's or Abby's.
So words for the Earthlings.
Travelers,
Ooh.
the believers, the futurists, and the travelers.
Oh, because they're like coming here.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, I mean, we don't know what the state of the Earth is.
The unknowns.
Ooh.
I'm like thinking something like, like they're essentially literally like question marks. So we could just be calling them like questions or something like that. Like capital Q, like,
We
I don't
know
know.
the questions are coming. Yeah.
We don't know how many questions or anything.
I love that though. That's kind of poetic, right? Because we don't know.
And like presumably people in our community are going to have a ton of questions for them as well.
That's true.
I'm trying to.
Yes, I hear you. Everyone hears you.
Like,
We're still
I kind of
proud.
want something that can. I'm looking for something like, that's the essentially what X is in algebra, or it could be anything,
Yeah.
But I don't want to just call them X.
Ooh, sorry, I just
The variables.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Ooh, the variables.
Ooh.
I do just see, I haven't been able to look at chat too much, but I happen to have it pulled up when I see a groovy guy suggestion of if you're pollinators and harvesters, what do the people who consume become? So, like, they're kind of like, I like that idea, almost. Like,
Oh, that's my friend
consumers.
Jerry. Thank you, Jerry.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. That was just an interesting thing to point out because it's like, that's true. We've been focusing so much on like producing and just surviving, and now we have people coming to like consume everything we've made.
Consumers.
Oh no.
Consumers. Capitalism is arriving.
That's kind of it. We're already worried actually about the money situation.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, that's a word that has a certain meaning in our previous lives on Earth, and now is like, it has this like, it's like a tainted word now.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
I'm into it.
So like the Earthlings are consumers.
The consumers are coming.
I love it.
Ooh.
Consumers are coming. We don't know how many consumers.
We don't know
and
if
it's
we will be
probably
consumed.
like it's probably like a derogatory term. Like there's definitely
Ooh.
probably like venom laced with it for certain people that's kind of like unavoidable.
Right. Like maybe maybe like the captain has like told us not to say that, you know, like
Yeah.
not to use that word because it's like no, this is like a good thing. Our mission is, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe like a kind of like whispered almost like, you know, just not polite word for these mysterious earthlings.
Yeah.
I like it.
Ooh.
All right. Well, Leona, this turned into your card, so why don't you choose who
Okay.
you want in the scene and set it for us?
Let's see. I think I want. I'm terrible at picking people. I hate picking people. So whoever wants to hop in on this, because I just don't like doing that. It makes me feel bad. But the scene that I'm thinking of setting up is Jaya kind of being nervous. She's the innocent one, but she's really, really like nervous and unsure, and like she's the sort of person who will whisper the word. And I guess she's kind of like she kind of has invited whoever wants to come to her place to like to discuss this. She's almost having like a private like round table thing almost. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, so whoever wants to hop in, and I think she'll start with well, things have changed in ways that I don't think any of us imagined. What do we think of the consumers? Do we do we welcome them? Should we tell them to not come?
I don't know if we could tell them to not come. We've been I mean, this is what we were preparing for, but we've it's you're very much stuck between a rock and a hard place with this.
Mm-hmm.
This was the whole purpose of this mission.
Yes, but for so long without communication with them, we had to take care of ourselves. We've been producing and just trying to work together to create something that can sustain us. And we don't know if the people coming will be able to help produce or if they're just going to consume.
We don't know if they'll be able to adapt to our world and our way of life. Whether we like it or not, we've changed in the time that we've been here.
They won't be able to adapt.
No?
You guys know the history. We'll
Well,
have to
then we'll
shift
just-
everything again.
Or we help them to adapt.
But how can we be sure that the people coming will nurture the seed?
They're the ones who sent us in the first place with that goal in mind. I know, like,
they
we
sent
have
us
no
because
idea.
we can. They could
We have-
uproot everything.
I don't
Well-
think the captain will allow that to happen. Like,
We'll lead the way. We were sent here. We're the leaders. We can teach them to nurture the seed.
exactly.
Teach
This
them
is-
to follow the currents.
Exactly. They are coming to our sprawl that we created to help them. So it's ours to share with them, not the other way around.
That's the way that we see it. I'm just saying it's based off of what we've seen of the consumers in the past. It's not going to be the way that they see it. We were preparing this for them to take over, essentially.
Well, we're still the ones who have to run it. And we'll teach more of them to run it as well, because we need more people to do so.
I'm just saying the more human elements get added into our system, the bigger there is a chance for error, and even the smallest error with our limited resources could be detrimental to the sprawl.
We are hoping that they're bringing more resources with them. They've already sent ahead the package with seeds. We are hoping that they are bringing more with them, but obviously we can't know for sure.
They sent it with no warning and just expected us to find it.
Not only that, but they didn't send us anything to actually cultivate the resources they sent. They don't know what we need. They could show up with a fuck ton of all sorts of things that we've found out don't work here.
I wonder if they're growing desperate over there. Have they consumed everything that was left to consume?
I don't doubt it.
If that is the case, then we will have to make sure that they do not scatter this place. We have to protect what we've built here as well as use it to nourish them.
Agreed. Let's all promise to each other and to ourselves we will protect our seed.
I think that's a good, yeah. And scene. Sorry, I left Frankie out so I could spend some time kind of setting things up. I really like that. So that's gonna, just, for time's sake, we'll say that'll close out age 2 for now. So people who have not played a card yet, that means you're gonna be up for age 3. I'm gonna send you some new cards. Let me deal them. Deal 3 cards. I'm dealing them to everybody. But why is it not? Oh, it helps if I pick the right card deck, huh? Shoot, where'd it go? There we go. Deal. Trying to like redeal
Yep, there.
1 to you. All right, so there we go. 3 cards. If you've not played one, I think that leaves us with Izza, Reliable, and Abby, right? Because Leona and I did the age 2 cards. So after, I'm going to read our entering age 3 prompt, which will sort of help set things as well, and then we'll have, everybody will play their 1 card. Let's try to keep the scene sort of like maybe like focused on smaller groups this time so they can sort of go a little bit quicker. And then when we close this age, we enter the legacy, where I read 1 last prompt, and then we each get 1 card, 1 legacy card, and we pretty much use that to help narrate what happens in the aftermath. So this is when stuff can like it's all kind of all shaping together. I love it. So in entering age 3, what was foreshadowed has come to pass. The end of the isolation is near. There is no escaping it. Colony ships have entered orbit. They've continued with their advanced supply drops, but some include tools for communication. Any among us could have squirreled away a rogue comlink, connecting them back to Earth after our long silence, and this leaves many unsettled. With just the first wave, they would outnumber us massively, and who knows how many more are still on the way. How do we each prepare for their arrival?
Spicy.
Right? Like, that's dramatic. So we also want to take some time to evolve an aspect. So maybe like let's real quick like think about which aspect we might want to reshape and evolve for this last age. We have nurture the seed, remember the bloom, and always return to the water. Which, wait, did I like? Oh yeah, no. Yeah, it's fine. So that's what we got right now. What do we want to like reshape?
Maybe the nurture the seed one to be more of like
I actually liked what Leona said right at the end of that last scene, protect the seed.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, where it's like trying to defend it from these new outsiders.
And it's like the sprawl has become the seed rather than this other vision.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. What are you thinking, Reliable?
I like that as well. Sorry.
No, that's
spacing a
okay.
little
I just
bit.
want to make sure everybody, gets their thoughts to be, heard. So we're changing nurture the seed to protect the seed.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not a cult. Protect the seed.
Hashtag not a cult.
Protect the seed. No consumers.
Do these all turn into cults? Because
I mean, we definitely did in the one from Unprepared. We pretty much became like the X-Men on like the Avengers like helicarrier. It was ridiculous. I played kind of the same sort of asshole actually. That was not intentional. I just have a brand, I guess. All right. So anybody who has a card who did not get to go during Act 2 that you would like to play for age 3.
Sorry, I'm still reading. I can't like read and listen
No,
to
I
conversations at the same
understand.
time.
I'm exactly the same.
I do have one. I have disuse action. A word once was common is a word which once was common is gradually forgotten. Perhaps the reason we spoke about it has faded away, or we've intentionally left it behind. Pick a previously defined word, explain why we no longer use the word. Skip the build a word phase and the conversation, explore the disuse, finally tear up the word.
Ooh, okay. So that definitely saves a bit of time. It's just sort of talking about how this word fell out of use then.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. What word are you thinking, Abby?
I'm thinking credit, because now with the
Ooh.
population like going up, and people from Earth, these consumers joining us, like potentially Earth money is valued again. So we go back to like having a currency and not having to worry about an exchange between Earth money and
I
just
like that.
credits, like bartering credits.
Yeah, so credits then is no longer in use. It's all about actual Earth currency, which we don't even know if it works.
Follow-up question.
Yes.
Is it taboo to say the word credits? Like, is it like
Ooh.
you should not say that word at all?
Or like bartering is now frowned upon.
Yeah.
Oh, like it's against the rules now.
Yeah. Like maybe they see it as kind of being like, oh, this is a practice you picked up while you were away from proper civilization. Like they look
Yeah.
down on it.
Right? Yeah, okay, I'm into that. So there's probably like a sort of black market bartering system that still is ongoing because there always is, you know?
But they
Especially
don't.
in a place of shortage.
Yeah, but they probably just can't call it credits anymore.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, cool. So we no longer have money credits. I put a little skull on it in age 3. It says to tear it up, so I guess I'll just delete it for symbolism and to make space. All right, who's got a word? I think Reliable or Izza. Either of you got one here?
Right. One of mine was very similar to that, so I'm just like rereading the
No
other
worries.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So I have perceptions action. So using this word carries a weight. When we say it, people form an image and it changes the way they think of us. Make a connection, play on a previously defined word. Explain how using this word changes others' perception of the speaker. Skip the build a word phase. In the conversation, explore the perceptions around this word. And I think I'm going to go with the one we just did in the last age, consumers.
Ooh.
And I think we talked about it a little bit, how like the captain doesn't want us to use that word consumers, but like I think people who say consumers have an automatic view of how these people are going to be when they show up. And like if you're like in conversation and you say consumers, you know how they feel about them.
Awesome. So. All right, so I'm just going to call it consumers' perception within our age as the note for like this. So this conversation will be framed about people's perception of consumers now.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, you get to set us a scene.
Ooh.
Right, because we still have the conversation. We just skip the word construction, right?
Right. Okay. I think the scene that I would like to set up is going to be Frankie and go ahead and say Dr. Dolores Stewart, if you're up for it.
Yep.
All right, so we're having a scene talking about our perceptions of, or how they've changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe, oh man, maybe Frankie will still every now and then come to Dr. Stewart for some of these like kind of frowned upon barters. Just because I'm still so used to like being, scavenging things together. It's still not exactly easy for me to always get like real money for things. So I think maybe I'll like you seem like the one who's most safe kind of to come to for like a taboo kind of practice.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe I was just trading you some things and we're having, just sort of talking about the most recent sort of concerns like people do. Just like, I don't know, we keep finding more and more of these drops and more of those ships keep coming into orbit and we're not finding enough, materials out there to build all of this new housing.
I know, and the people are working themselves ragged trying to get it all ready because we have no known date. We just have to get it ready as soon as possible because the arrival is unknown.
Like, I know some people think like, oh, these consumers are going to bring us like, maybe more of the materials that we need and stuff, but I don't think we can trust that. We can't rely on that.
I've heard things as well about some people being able to communicate with the consumers.
What you hear exactly?
I guess one of the drops had some comm units, and before they could all get confiscated and kept given to the captain so the captain could take care of distributing them and everything. Some members of the sprawl were able to smuggle some away.
We're gonna be scattered before anybody gets here if we can't, keep our own shit together. Like, I mean, I guarantee you that wasn't one of my drops.
No, it definitely wasn't. It was just, and no one wants to fess up, obviously, but I don't know. I think.
Do you know who it is?
No, but they're just as bad as the consumers, I think.
Did you talk to the commander or someone about it? I mean, maybe she's got some ideas. Sometimes they're pretty good.
Yeah, I have not been able to, unfortunately. Just, she's very busy, especially with everything going on.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll definitely keep my ears out, because, I mean, if we got people having words with, back with Earth or, these consumers up in the air, everything is going to be just ruined before it even, can really begin. Everything that we've already built here.
Honestly, I think that's all that these people that are secretly communicating with the consumers. It's just they're consumers themselves.
Yeah, you're
they're
right.
Not true members of the sprawl.
They've forgotten what it means to care about the seed, to protect what we've built here. So I'm gonna, you know what? Thanks for this, and I just like heft up the like bag of whatever contraband I got from Dolores and be like, I'm gonna see if I can track down who was at that drop with the comm links. Maybe I can get some freaking answers before this all just gets uprooted and scattered.
I hope that we don't see the scatter of our own civilization.
Well, we'll figure out some way to make it work. We've lasted this long, so, we'll blossom some more, I guess.
Well, we remember the bloom.
Yeah, you too. Stay with the current, Doc.
You as well.
Oh man, I like it. I like how Dr. Stewart's like sort of come further around, I think, to Frankie's side a bit now. Like,
yeah,
we had just gotten in the groove of things.
Yeah,
he was like, all right, we've got the hang of this, and then the consumers come and uproot everything.
like they do, thanks hates capitalism. So I think that leaves Izza. Did you
Yeah.
have, you got
So-
a word for us?
I have a slightly spicy idea.
Ooh, spice it
Here
up.
for spice.
Yeah, we like spice
'Cause
here on the
I think,
Chromatic
yeah.
Chimera.
Because this is like the last one of Act 3 now, right?
Yeah, it is.
So I sort of have two ideas for this card. So I've got the other two cards I have are like very similar to the ones that have already been played. So I'm going to use the label card, which is it says action. Using this word has become a badge we wear. Is it a point of pride or something we are trying to hide? And then it's like, yeah, make a connection, play on a previously defined word, explain why it now labels us. Moment of truth may have outsiders. So I'm thinking that either, I'll just drop it there.
Thanks.
Now, sprawlers isn't technically like one of the words that we created as like the words in an act. But I was thinking of either using that or blossom, and it's become like a way to sort of like differentiate the people who have been like living and working here for ages from the new arrivals, and it's sort of them like really sort of redefining the fact that they are different from these people now, even though they both originally come from the same planet. And like, so I was thinking either like sprawlers as a specific label, but we've already sort of had that, or like them now calling themselves like the blossom from the seeds. It's like using the word blossom as like, we took what you gave us and now we've made our own thing that's grown from it, and that's like something precious. Which I think I prefer that one.
I was also, you inspired me, and I was also thinking like garden, like we are
Okay.
the garden.
Oh, that's not culty.
Yeah.
I like that though, yeah.
Not
I don't know if we have to like make a new word or if we
cult.
just use an old word, but
No,
yeah.
I'll say we can just use an old word. Like
Okay.
I'll specify it as a label, but like I mean I don't know. It's up to you, Izza. It's your card, so you know we're kind of I think being a little flexible anyway. So
Yeah.
whatever feels right. It's your call.
But like the slightly more spicy element of it was I was thinking like playing off the scene you've just done and like everything else that's been happening. I feel like it could be like the whole group together, and it's sort of like either having gathered like a secret meeting and basically saying like the captain has like proved himself to be a consumer, like he only cares about them and I care about you now only, and like
Ooh.
fully being like,
Spicy.
I want to protect you guys.
I like it. So which word then do we want to go with as like this label we have now? Did you want to
If we can create a new word, I kind of like garden. It seems it's like
yeah, I say let's
more,
do
like,
it. Fuck
powerful and like abundant.
So I'm gonna say label garden, and that'll be still our new word because I like that. I think that works really well. So
Protect the garden.
Protect the garden. Screw it, homebrew it.
right, pretty much. I mean, it's all about how things live and grow. If this is a way that our sprawl gets to feel more realistic too, because I think like things would necessarily not evolve according to the way we draw cards. So like,
Yeah.
I'm into it. All right. So you want to have a full cast scene discussing our impending mutiny?
If this is the last one, I think we should all be in it. Like,
yeah, I'm here
hell
for it.
Hell yeah, everyone should be in it. So yeah, I think this is sort of like maybe like Eva's been kind of like distant and separate from the rest of them for a while, ever since the last meeting, and like she's sort of like very suddenly gathered them all together after like the conversation between the doctor and Frankie where they're sort of saying like, what's all this comlink stuff, and she's sort of like, it's like it's not in her office, maybe it's somewhere like slightly secretive, maybe even in like Rose's greenhouse or something, like somewhere where they're not gonna be found.
What if we're like meeting in those tunnels we once had that argument in?
Oh yeah, maybe.
It's like an old kind of disused utility space now or something.
Yeah.
I like the poeticness of that.
Yeah. So I think Eva seems like quite like nervous and flighty, but she's sort of trying to maintain that kind of like mask of being in control almost. And she's just like, look, I asked all of you to come here because I feel like I can rely on all of you. I know we haven't always seen exactly eye to eye, but things are moving swiftly now, and I have to say that I don't agree with most of the things the captain is saying. I feel like he has shown himself to be one of the consumers, or at least he cares more about them than he does about us.
Whoa, I thought I'd be scattered before I ever heard you say something like that.
I've always worked to try and keep peace between everyone here, and he is scattering and uprooting everything I have worked towards, everything that all of you have worked towards, because he is obsessed with pleasing the consumers.
What are we gonna do about it, though? I mean, is this it? Is this what's left of, of the seeds we first planted here? That still cares?
There are others. I just know that you all have ability to implement and plan, and you're all creative and intelligent and not afraid to stand up for what you care about.
Well, but what are we gonna do? I mean, we can care and and try to stay in the current as best we can, but if we don't know where we're trying to take it, I don't know. There's so many
put our
of
foot
them.
Down.
You think?
I mean, they obviously have their own ideas of how them showing up is going to go, but we know what's best. They can either respect that or they can fuck off, honestly.
They are reliant on us. They know that.
I hope they do. I mean, I don't really know what anything's like back there anymore. For all we know, they're gonna, by the time they actually get here, they'll have all their own stuff that they need anyway.
They can go set up on the other side of Mars for all I care. They're not uprooting what we have.
They can build their own garden like we work to build ours.
I mean, we can definitely help them get started on that, but I don't want the consumers uprooting the sprawl.
Yeah, we must protect this. This is our seed. We have to nurture it. We have to take care of it.
Yeah. We've been working too much planning these, seeds for all these consumers out here. We haven't been nurturing our own. We can't let this garden die.
I thought that
the captain.
Sorry?
Sorry, what about the captain?
I mean, perhaps we can come to some sort of agreement with him and these consumers he is clearly in contact with, but will not allow me to speak to. We give them blueprints, plans for building biodomes, and they have to do it themselves like we did.
It's not a part of this garden.
I don't know if we'll really be able to keep them out, honestly. There's so many from what I've heard, at least. But I'm ready to try if we need to. I don't want to lose what we've built here, what we've grown here.
Me neither. It's precious.
All right, so I don't know. What do you need from us, Commander? Try to find more people, I guess?
Yes, I think if there was more backing behind this, he's tried to ignore everything I've said to him for the last 2 months, at least. if there was more community backing behind this idea, perhaps he would pay attention.
I'm certain you'll have it. And history has shown us that the consumers don't care much for the scientists anyway. We just have to remind them of that.
If we stick together, then we can keep growing strong. We'll keep the garden safe.
For the garden.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Commander. It's good to hear you speak up like this. Again. Thank you.
Oh, I could have done it sooner, but I felt the need to fulfill my duty, but I realize now my duty is to the garden and not to one man.
For the garden, then.
For the garden.
Pardon.
Unionizing.
And remove the weeds, protect the garden.
Not a cult.
That's what our protest signs say.
Not a cult.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's age 3 then. Yeah, which moves us into the legacy, which does have another prompt. And I'm going to deal you each 1 legacy card, which you get to pretty much sort of tie in, as much as you choose. Like, if it's something you don't like, feel free not to, do whatever. But we'll go around and sort of everybody gets to, describe how their character, or the isolation as a whole, even. You can sort of choose if you want to apply it to the gardeners and the sprawlers as a whole, or your specific character. But these are the last moments, or the aftermath. That wave was just the beginning. They flooded our home, wave after wave, thousands upon thousands. They've seized the outpost for their own purposes, and some newcomers don't even know there was ever a first expedition. Our home is transformed into something we no longer recognize. How do we leave our mark? Ooh.
Short-lived mutiny.
Ooh.
Right? Short-lived mutiny. Let's see.
If you have to keep saying not a cult, are people going to assume that that's your cult chant?
I mean...
Not a cult.
Not a cult.
Cult. All right, so I think we all sort of get like a couple of different options that we can choose for like what path we want to take. So as we look things through, if something jumps out to somebody, feel free to speak up for your legacy.
I can go ahead and go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the thing that I'm choosing from my card is a moment of deja vu. So I think Oliver, after the pretty much full takeover, and Oliver is just like taking in everything that's happened. How much power we thought we had versus how much we actually had, and how much has changed for the colony as a whole, and how I think Oliver's moment of deja vu is he's seeing the actions of the consumers, and he's seeing the route that things are being taken. And just like he said in the beginning, they're starting to go down the same route that led us to having to flee to Mars. So I think eventually Oliver honestly probably just leaves and like starts trying to just like live on his own, and it's just like, I would rather be scattered than continue to make these mistakes. So
No.
I can go. So I got, well, the one that I'm going to use is cast out again and again. I think with so Dr. Dolores was one of the first scientists that led the original expedition, but now with all the consumers taking over, they insist that their science in the past few years that we've been here, they've gotten more advanced, and we don't know what we're talking about. So all of her efforts to try to show them the research that's been done and show them what we have discovered that works, they ignore completely because Dolores doesn't know the newest technologies. The Dolores is, essentially old fashioned. So she keeps trying, but keeps getting turned away.
Torn between two potential things.
Same.
One's an idea for Frankie specifically, though, and one's kind of an idea for the isolation. So, like, I don't know if it's cool. Like, I'll be brief in both. But, and then, we can either ignore the one for the isolation or grow upon it if somebody wants. But the thing for Frankie I got is sharing a memory of the old ways. And I sort of imagine that as things grow on and the consumers come and build their new sort of society and culture, Frankie is pretty much becomes like that grizzled old like soldier who will still sort of like take or train people who want like the adventure of frontier like scavenging in space, and like they're just like really grumpy because it's pretty much like running a tourist gig or whatever, but it's like the closest thing they can still grasp onto into like trying to remind the people that they do get to work with, like we were here first, like these are the trails we took, this is, like these are things that we found, and that's just sort of them trying to keep protecting the garden as best they can, which is like just the saddest kind of retirement story I'm thinking of, like that's kind of what I'm imagining. Like they are definitely not happy, but it's very much the best they can do. And just for the isolation as a whole, I have the line coming across the rubble and ruin. And I just have this mental picture of like this new colony that's been formed on top, eventually at least, of the sprawl that we built. And it's like totally forgotten. And I just sort of have this image of like, maybe people going down someday to our roots and finding this empty, overgrown, botanist haven.
Okay, I gotta go next because now I'm freaking inspired as heck.
Oh, good.
Oh god. Oh god, my feels. So the thing that I have is a ritual for the dead. And what Jaya does is some people from the garden have passed, and she does their scattering, but she recognizes that her garden has also, like, their garden has died, and so her scattering of all of these people is like the last that will be done here. And she wants to, her science has also been rejected, and so she wants to leave and follow Oliver's path, but before she leaves she writes everything down. She writes down all of the words that they created, all of the sciences, everything, like every single thing that they had built, she writes down, and she leaves it in her greenhouse and prays that someday they will come back for the roots and they will find it. And then she leaves.
I have to follow that up.
I'm just like picturing this like very Adventure Time-esque like pan out of like an overgrown, like tablet pad or something, like on a desk in this greenhouse, like just panning out into this rubble and ruin. Oh my god.
Feels. Flail.
Oh man.
Next.
I can't believe I have to follow that. Damn you.
I'm sorry.
That was beautiful. I kind of want to like combine two of them because they're quite for me they come part and parcel for what I'm thinking of. So the two I'm thinking of are an assumption that outsiders make about you and the shame that comes with loss. So I'm thinking that, Eva kind of like tried to break away from what the captain wanted and what the consumers wanted and tried to come up with a new solution, and it clearly didn't work. So I feel like she probably got like court-martialed or something, or like lost her job or rank or something. So that there's obviously like shame with like not being able to have like protected the garden. Like she finally came around to like taking a side in the end, and it didn't work. And she like lost the career she'd built basically because of that. So it's like shame for herself, and then like shame for not being able to like do something for the people she was supposed to be protecting. And then I think, yeah, like she's just always, for like the assumption that outsiders make about you, like she's always seen as like an uprooter, like a troublemaker, like for the rest of her life, no matter what she does. And maybe she does like go back after she knows that Rose has left, and like maybe she does find that book and try to kind of like educate other people, but like it's just, it like mars her forever. But she tries.
Oh, jeez.
Yay!
Oh. So.
Don't yay that.
Yay! Yay! I think that's everyone's legacy then, yeah?
I think so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that leaves the sprawl, an abandoned ruin underneath a whole new Mars colony that doesn't even remember any of the sacrifices that any of these people made to get them the foundation that they've grown on. And we are now the sole speakers of our dialect of the sprawl. We are all that is left of that language. Us and our wonderful viewers who came to hang out and support us tonight. There is like a sort of the ends, aftercare, as it were. We don't necessarily have to do this on stream. I just want to make sure that like everybody in the audience knows we do try to take these kinds of things very seriously. This was very emotional as things came to the end. I will be around to chat on Zoom with anybody who wants to sort of just decompress and talk about the game. They give you like some prompting questions like, how are you feeling? What did anything unexpected happen? What parts of the language are going to stick with you? And how will you remember this story? So I'm thinking just sort of as we go around now to do our outros, I really want to know what part of the language is going to, stick with you. What part of this story of our isolation is, in your minds the most as we say our farewells. I know we said hello starting with Abby tonight, so I'm gonna throw Izza under the uprooting bus. And we'll start with you. Tell us, who you are, where we can find you, if you have any projects you want to plug, and let us know what your favorite part of the language was that's really sticking with you.
Cool. So yeah, I'm Izza. You can find me at Evil Clever Dog on Twitter and Instagram. I'm a cosplayer and a designer, and I also play D&D and tabletop RPGs on various things. I'm a cast member on a show called Life of the Party, which is an all LGBT plus D&D 5e show. Currently, the campaign I'm a part of is on hiatus because we can't film together, but there is, you could catch up on the campaign I'm in, or there's a side campaign going on with the people who are quarantined together to like tide us over until we can all get back together. And you can also find me back here on Monday on Wildmount Daring and Divine, where I'm going to be playing my Warforged Echo Knight. Yay! And I'm really looking forward to coming back and playing with you guys again.
Love our robot wife.
I love Robot Wife. And on Tuesdays, you can find me on Finn the Bin's Twitch channel playing ROM hack of Pokemon Black and White, because we felt like we wanted to just like stream a cool, fun, chill game and give our spicy Pokemon takes. It's just like a nice chill zone. So come join us for the fun. And oh man, as for the language, like so much of it, I love like the imagery of nature that we used, and like I love, honestly, like it's like a cop-out answer, but I just love every aspect of that. Like being able to tie that imagery in with the language, I thought was really powerful, especially for like the setting, this like barren planet that is like essentially lifeless, and we've like taken this really powerful sort of like nurturing organic imagery and like put that in there. I think it's just, I love this game. It's great. It's my first time playing it and I love it.
For joining
Oh man,
us.
do I have to pick a favorite word though?
You don't have to. You don't have to.
You know what? Actually, I know it's my word, so it's like a bit.
That's
big-headed,
fine.
but the moment I was just clocked and was like, "Oh, consumers for the people coming to Mars." Like, I just think that was really funny. Consume. Yeah.
Consume.
Down with capitalism.
I love it. Excellent. Leona, tell us all about you, where we can find you, anything you want to plug.
Hello, my name is Leona. You can find me on Twitter at the Leona Maple. I am an intersectionality and diversity consultant, so I help you make your projects more diverse and inclusive and equitable. I am also a sensitivity reader, so I can read whatever you're working on and, you know, make sure it's as well representational representational as possible. You can also find me on Friday nights with Welcome Party RPG. I play Janela in our Friday night game. We are playing Descent into Avernus, so we're going to hell, y'all. And other than that, oh god, I think there's gonna be something about like the uprooting and the seeds and the blooms, and I think those are the words that are gonna stick with me. And like, yeah, it's just gonna, god, it's gonna stick with me. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you everybody for playing with me. I'm going to thank you like 1,000 times before we go because I really had so much fun. Reliable, your turn. Tell us about you, where we can find you, plug your stuff.
Hi, I'm Reliable. You can find me at _reliable1 on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me at reliable1 on Twitch. I've been sort of all over the place the past month as far as what I'm doing and whose channels I'm on. So it's best if you just follow my Twitter and I post there when I'm going to be on what. Right now on my personal Twitch channel, I'm doing a month-long charity thing for Color of Change. So we're raising money. I think we've gotten to like 315 so far out of my first $100 goal. So that's been fun. But I just stream random stuff there, give people opportunity to donate, talk about stuff. So yeah, you can find me there. You can find me on Twitter and just follow for more information on the stuff that I'm doing. Favorite word, definitely the consumers. Mainly because I'm a scientist, I'm a chemist, and like talking to people about stuff like climate change, this whole scenario was like so real for me. But talking to people about like being a scientist in a world that like appreciates scientists like optionally, I think the consumers was something that I really like vibed with for that whole thing. So
Sorry, we made you like live out some real life in your getaway
Silly
RPG
vibe.
game. Weird how much that happens, though. I mean,
yeah, for real. It's like, oh, I'm playing myself.
Oh,
All
weird.
the time.
Awesome. Abby, tell us about you.
Hello, I'm Abby. I'm one of the admins here. I'm our creative director. So I make all of the pretty overlays and graphics that you see. Hey, that's me.
They are amazing.
And I'm here every Wednesday in Agora's Bells and Steven's Spell. And I'm also a dice maker. So if you like pictures of pretty dice, follow me on the Twitters.
And what was your favorite thing?
I'm gonna be like everyone else and say my favorite word was consumers. It fit so perfectly, and it really encapsulated what the people of the sprawl, like their feelings towards these outsiders coming in. And I honestly, my favorite part was that we were able to just through these little prompts, we fleshed out an entire community of people.
Right? Like, and it feels so real, like, and breathing to me, I think. And that's what made me fall in love with this game so hard, is it's such, little bits and pieces that we take and cobble together, and we have a language. We have a society that we've lived and watched fall apart. Like,
I'm like legitimately sad about it.
I know, me too. Well, Hey everyone, I'm Sam. You can find me on Twitter at @TheSamWisest. I'm Samwise_GameG here on Twitch, where I'll occasionally stream things like ESO or Stardew Valley. Most of the time, you can find me right back here at the Chromatic Chimera, where I am our accessibility director. I'm also a cast member in No Initiative on Mondays, so you'll see me playing there with Izza, as well as another special guest we have, who has not been announced just yet, but it's very exciting. And then otherwise, I'm also in our Wednesday games, and I play in Elsewhere on the first Tuesday of every month. We are getting ready to begin a playtest of our very own Lucy's original RPG system called Clockwork Hearts. She's currently got a podcast that's also available through Chromatic Chimera. You can check the link down there. But we're going to be incorporating her new system into Elsewhere in our next game in July, and I'm really excited to try it out. So scope that out. Otherwise, I think that's all that we have for today. We will be back on the Chromatic Chimera tomorrow for Tales from Minery Village at, I think, oh shoot, what time are we even on anymore? The schedule changed last time I had it memorized.
I know.
Hang on, I'm looking super quick. I think it's 1 p.m. Yes, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I think we also have a premiere of Clockwork Vines, a new actual play that is being facilitated by Honey and Dice, is going to be premiering right after that. I think with the time frame, I believe that's 4 p.m. Eastern. I might be off. My brain just has a lot of numbers in it right now, but check that out. We'll be tweeting more information soon. And thank you everybody who donated for the Trevor Project or the Bale Project. It really means a lot to everybody here. These are causes very important to many of us right now, and it means a lot to be able to do what we can to try to help support and get some funds to people who need it. So thank you so much. We do have these same donations are going to be up on our channel for the rest of June and are likely going to be extended as well. So join us in our Discord for any announcements and updates. Other than that, do we have somebody to raid today, or do we gotta just head on off? We'll figure it out in post. But thank you so much, everybody, for coming to hang out. Be safe and, have a good day. Don't uproot anything too much, nurture your seeds. That sounds a lot weirder.